Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good. She wants a footrest.
What?
Gail wanted a footrest.
I was smiling at ya.
No, you just had to think of relief, like,
I made her leave her weapon at home.
I had to pull the batteries out of
Right.
the camera.
hey, I'm short on sleep,
You're on the
because
charger
somebody
now.
came home and was, you
Hey.
know.
What, because you
I
don't
don't-
keep
I
your
don't
stuff
think
up?
Oh,
that
no.
you need to
Not this
cop an
one.
attitude.
Because you're not like
because
Not this
every
one.
time you use
Started
it,
trouble
Yeah,
already.
micro,
you pop
So-
it
That's
through.
rude.
you came back in that package,
I mean, I was
and he had to go upstairs to get it, because you left it just sitting around.
Ooh.
I got here this morning and it was missing.
Not this
Ooh.
one.
Yeah, Logan has a track record of
Like,
borrowing
dropped
things and
the
not
mic
returning
at
them.
11
So-
o'clock. While I
Cable
was
right there.
texting you,
It was in this.
it says, I'm done. Bye.
You took it out.
Well, I don't want.
And you took it out, and you left it in the sound booth.
Ooh.
And-
Fight.
When I brought my camera.
And of course,
Be all
Of
right.
course, you're the only one that.
Well, I didn't use it.
So.
oh, that makes it so much better. You didn't even use it. You just took it out and left it
It
there.
was in the case.
Fight.
And then it fell out. It's not my fault.
Fight.
It's your fault. If you can check your stuff.
That means you have to pray this.
See, you need a recliner
You
too.
want to pray this morning?
So
Yeah,
John, you
so-
gotta
Want
pray
to
this
pray
morning.
this morning?
Yeah, that's not-
Good.
Oh,
That's what
oh.
you used to pray this morning.
I'm really
I know. I'm gonna retitle it.
She needs a recliner too, but she needs a blanket and a pillow.
Really? I mean, that would be her living
That's
room.
three of us, that's
You
not.
just admitted to.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture of one. Actually, doesn't
Trying to see it.
Bill Essen work at like the recliner store?
Does he?
He can get you pictures of it all
Does he
day
really?
long. Yeah, he does. That's
Like
one.
lazy boy or what?
That's one of his jobs. I
Seriously?
forget which one, but it's one of them.
Is it a furniture?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you could,
This
yeah, I
one?
mean, if
Oh, yeah,
you
you
want
can.
one real bad. Buy one, that's what I'm saying. But if she okay, so you know where this is coming from, Gail, you weren't here, but she said she wanted
I need a foot
an
rest.
ottoman,
Yes, ma'am.
an ottoman, so she can,
Yeah.
you know,
That needs plugged in too.
Yeah.
That needs plugged in too.
That's
Huh?
I got
Oh,
one
yeah,
of
you're
those
right.
kinds
That only
of
means plugged in.
rooms at
That
mine
might not
or a room
heat
here at the
Bluetooth.
church.
This stuff.
Recliner, room, rest,
Ah,
bed,
cool.
nice comfy chairs, big pillows,
what are you doing there?
coffee,
I'll take you to the.
music, all over the place.
That sounds like a prayer room.
What's it?
Is that
No,
called
either.
lounge?
Let's go.
Could be a healing room, be a lot of things, but yeah.
I think everybody ought to pick, you ought to pick their own share for this sanctuary.
See what?
I think we should be able to pick out their own
You're
share.
right.
for the sanctuary.
That's what we did.
You know what, they just pick out the same seat, the same spot.
They all set the same
Sunday,
spots
it's a
anyway.
place of comfort. Be a box, they still sit there. Sleep in that.
Alright, who's gonna pray?
Well, John said he
Logan
wanted
is.
to, so I think he wants to. Just saying.
But I'll pray because I'm spiritually mature and like Logan.
You're not wrong.
Lord, we thank you for this morning, God. We thank you for your mercy and your blessings. We ask for your unity and your direction and your wisdom as we go through this meeting, God. We thank you for what you've been doing here in our church, and we pray that you continue to bless us and our church and the full church at large, Lord, all across the world. We just praise you and we thank you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Praise God. What's on the agenda today? What's on people's hearts?
Probably can touch base about Easter again,
Yeah.
just to keep
Okay.
that on the list.
Okay. What else?
Probably embrace a little bit.
Embrace night, right?
Yeah.
What else?
Probably should talk about EMI, or at least kind of just update where we are on it. And
Yeah. Okay, what else?
I don't know if there's any updates to any of the teams to go through.
I know. Sozo Kids probably had some.
Yeah, if they,
Fancy.
We'll see who from them shows up. That's it?
And review tomorrow morning. Well,
Cool. Easter package. We can start there, unless anybody else has anything else. You got anything? Nada? Guess not.
Just FYI, we got Certain Pro and these people, we trying to get the meeting, come out and get the church stuff done.
Cool.
So they're around trying to meet with them, so I haven't said yet, but it's all, it's a big role.
Is that the only facility thing?
Yeah, unless you want me to start with the parking lot, which might be done before Easter if we did, but
Yeah, I mean, if we've got
I
a,
just
well,
didn't know how you want to tackle it per se.
yeah, let's leave that on that list at the end.
But the important part was to get the church looking right.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we can talk through some of that. Make sure that we're on the same page around what it is we're gonna do first.
Right.
Got it.
Don't want to have a big bill out up front and go, oops, we can't do this kind of thing, so yeah.
Mm-hmm, okay, cool. So,
Waste our time, either.
start with Easter. Do me a favor and turn the TV on for me. Or maybe that. I'll be there. I'll be there. Just call my name.
this part?
Mhm.
You can't say this.
Switch it.
Not necessarily.
So Easter, who wants to lead off on Easter?
I still need to reach out to the handful of people we talked about last week. I guess for Gail and Mike and Jerry, since you guys weren't here last week, what we talked about for Easter, we're gonna do, Good Friday worship service. Landon and Dustin and the worship team are working and putting that together. Maybe we can have them, Dustin, give a basic update on where they are on that. And then I wanted to see if you still were wanting to do the sunrise service.
We're making plans for it.
What's that?
We're making plans for it.
So we had the Good Friday worship service, the sunrise service, the normal service. What was it? There was four.
Oh, there's
Palm
four.
Sunday.
There's
What was it?
Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Palm Sunday. So we're gonna have a special thing on Palm Sunday. I guess the ballerina team's coming out on Palm Sunday.
Yep.
And then that Friday is the Good Friday worship service, and then the sunrise service, and then the regular Easter service. For the sunrise service, I don't know if anybody talked to you about anything that we had mentioned last Saturday, but we were wondering what you thought about, kinda like we did with Sozo Saturday, where we rented a tent and had tables set up right out here in the grass area. If we did that again for the sunrise service, so that it's all right here on our campus. You know, put the tent out, put tables, chairs. If we need a little sound system, we can set something up, but we were thinking we probably wouldn't even need really a sound system, depending on, who all's there and stuff, but then be able to do it out there, and then as soon as that's done, everybody would just come directly into the building for the normal service. And then for the normal Sunday service, we were thinking that praise and worship was gonna be a big element, and then talked about trying to put together 2, maybe 3, kind of testimonial videos, picking certain people that have testimonies that kind of relate to the theme for that Sunday. And then, not sure exactly how it would work yet, but that it would we'd interlace those videos into Pastor Steve as he's teaching, so, we might teach a little bit, then we show one of those videos, and teach a little bit, and show one of those videos, that kind of thing. So it's not gonna be a big, we're not gonna do skits and all that kind of stuff, but it'll be different than a normal Sunday service, some of the stuff that we're gonna do, and then, like I said, having the praise and worship side be a bigger scaled thing than just, the 4 songs, type of stuff, so. That's kind of where we are on the Easter side. I need to reach out, we had a few people that we'd mentioned that maybe we could touch base with to see if they had some sort of a testimony that we could do for the videos. But then beyond that, we've got the Friday, Friday worship set, so Dustin, do you wanna give some updates and thoughts around what you guys are gonna plan on doing?
Sure, so you have Dropbox on there?
Yeah, but actually we don't, let me look. Everything's in the way, so it's hard for me to, there's all kinds of electronic stuff in the way now. Yeah, you'd have to log into yours.
Do you have a particular time for the summer?
We did do it once, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it should
Seven,
just.
yeah, Tara checked it, okay, it was like 7 something.
See if it'll log in.
Like, yeah.
Hmm.
Morning, sir.
Wow, everybody's grumpy this morning.
Who? No, just go.
Just going, no, everybody's been a little grumpy.
Who else?
Huh?
Who else?
You?
Yeah, right.
Really grumpy.
Feel great.
Oh my gosh, you've been yelling at everybody.
This guy.
As soon as you walk in,
Yeah.
This
you immediately
guy.
start yelling
Unless
at
you
me.
wanna log in.
Deserve that.
Find out.
Is it mine?
It should be anyone who has it on Sozo, I put it on the Sozo.
Yeah.
You know, Apple has this really cool thing called AirPlay, where you can just instantly AirPlay what's on your screen with another screen.
Is he able to connect his phone to it?
Hmm?
Is he able to connect his phone to that TV?
Maybe.
It's an Apple TV.
That's not an Apple TV.
Dude.
That's the problem.
Nah, dude. Never.
What are you guys talking about?
What's up?
You know, the weird thing happened to me the other day. I was on YouTube and a box came up. They hit yes. I hit yes. I'm looking at my
What am I looking
phone,
for?
and then I heard something on the TV. I'm like looking. I'm like, that's what I'm watching on my phone.
Streaming.
I'm like, how did it get on the TV?
I'll tell you now.
Did you figure
It
it
should be
out?
linked.
No.
Go to files.
Yeah.
Is it that 50-inch that you wanted?
No,
The new one?
still didn't get that. I'm waiting for you.
Sozo.
This is what I meant by
Oh, come on.
This is what I meant by the
Gosh, it's slow back here.
Are you showing
Hmm?
the spreadsheet for worship?
Yeah. Open arms. And there'll be worship team, so it's towards the bottom. And then events. And the Good Friday set list. So that's the suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, then on the bottom here, can you click the set list tab? There we go. So that's the actual set list. Okay, so that's the set list we have planned out for it, and like the energy and the goal of each. It's kind of broken up into 3 sections where we want to have each section kind of start with a short kind of talk.
Mhm.
So the first one, Landon wants to open up and talk about that. This is basically about a year since we started the group and everything.
Mhm.
It's 10 days before it's an actual full year that we started it. And then we also want to do a communion and kind of open up where ideally we'd like to have either you or you do, like, open up and do communion and talk a little bit about that, and then we'll go in and we'll do a few songs. Then we will sing Nothing But the Blood for like a couple minutes, and then somebody will come up again and talk a little bit more, talk about like him walking up the hill and the beatings he endured, and things like that, and maybe even read some scriptures and stuff like that, and then we'll go back in and do a few more songs that relate more to that, and nothing but the blood again, and then a talk again about like the power of his name and when he actually died, how the earth shake and the veil tore, and the world was changed forever in that moment, and then we'll end up with 3 more songs. So
Got it.
The songs are all lyrically referencing stuff that fits that section.
Yeah.
And same with the mood, like the middle piece. This is my favorite part. The middle piece is like low energy acoustic feel, very
Yeah.
stripped back, so very like intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And then ties
Yeah,
into
like a large part of the band had to step off the stage for it and
Yeah.
kind of draw it back for that middle section, and then everybody come back for the last 3.
Mhm.
Yeah. What are people doing through those different sets?
just
Like
Worshiping.
yeah.
Just worshiping?
yeah, besides opening with communion, everyone besides that is just sitting.
Yeah.
Sitting, standing, however they want to, but
Yeah. Yeah, because we might add some activity for them in terms of encouraging them either to pray, people can walk around and pray, or maybe there's a moment where we all gather and pray, or there's a particular prayer, so you can put that, you can punctuate different pieces with that,
yeah.
just to break it up a little bit. Does that make sense? Because I'd love to. I love the framing because it really is a worship experience.
Yeah.
But we can also encourage them, yeah, but you should be hearing things from God. I mean, there's some freedom to move around. People may pray with one another during pieces of it.
Yeah.
And especially in that middle piece where it's quieter, you could actually encourage people to, like, you know, just listen.
Mhm.
Listen, but listen, you know, spiritually.
Yeah.
Listen and write or sing with us, but, you know, it's a time for you guys to sort of get in it with us.
Yeah.
Is that fair? But I love the framework. I
Mhm.
love it. I love the idea of talking about where worship is in the church now, as well as the band, because there really is a good story there in terms of what God's done. So I'm absolutely on board with that.
Yeah.
So I like the theme. Is there a theme to it besides it's Easter?
More so, it's Good Friday. We're actually
Yeah.
staying away from songs talking about the resurrection
Okay.
to
And then on Easter Sunday.
to
Yeah,
not
yeah.
undercut the power that they'll have on
Got it.
Easter.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
where like Man of Sorrows has like one little verse at the end where
Mm.
it talks about the resurrection, where the whole rest of it's talking about the walk up the hill
Yeah.
and like getting beaten and everything like that. And we're just gonna cut out that verse and
Okay.
stick to the sacrifice at the cross and the power of that.
Very cool.
That's also,
I actually love it.
that's also part of why they're talking about doing communion.
Uh-huh.
To
Mhm.
kind of represent the Last Supper and
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit there at that middle piece. Again, they're specifically trying to make sure that the night is focused on the Good Friday
On the Good Friday
aspect of
atmosphere.
Easter, and then allowing Sunday to be the
I love it.
highlight of the resurrection.
I love
side.
that. I love that. Absolutely love it. I love the structure to it, the organization around it. So bravo, guys, that you really thought it through at that level. I think that'll make it excellent. Yeah, I'm a big fan. And whatever we do, yeah, I feel like it doesn't require formality. It really is that whoever wants to get up and talk and sort of exhort people into the different pieces of it
Yeah.
should do it. I don't, you know, it isn't a let's be Sunday. It really is a let's worship as a body, right? So like anybody who has the heart, and that's going to be the key. You sort of have that, man, I want to really help people with this piece of it. Man, step in there and do it. So, because I'd love to just come in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know? So I just want us to be free to just say, hey, there isn't some formality that says Pastor Steve has to do a part of it. It's like we're all supposed to enjoy it.
Right.
So I'm digging it. Any other comments? I love it.
Like it's like a beautiful like outreach
I
opportunity.
love it.
And then to be able to like further invite people to either the sunrise service or
Yeah.
Easter, I think is awesome.
Yeah, and so the kicker's going to be getting people there because this will be the first time they've experienced it, so they won't know what to expect.
That's exciting though.
And well, it can be if we give them some vision ahead of time.
Yeah, that's what I.
Instead of afterwards, it's like, oh, guys, you missed a really good.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they'll come the next one. I'd rather sort of build it up now.
I was gonna say like media team wise, I want to like get some like footage of the team practicing and maybe like them like talking about the worship night and inviting
Good.
people and kind of
Yeah.
sharing what you guys shared today. to get more of like a feel for it rather than just like a graphic that's like, hey, come to this thing.
I get that.
But,
And we should evangelize, right? This is an opportunity to bring people in. It's a way to get near them in a beautiful, soft, loving way. I mean, I would really consider this, especially for young people. That's the other thing.
that's my.
I think for young people, it's going to be just a really awesome, unplugged kind of event where they just come and hang and feel and maybe talk and pray a little bit and walk away encouraged.
Definitely the people that recently came to New People in the last month or couple of months.
Yeah.
Agree.
We have their email address, right?
Yeah.
So we can send them an email
Mm-hmm.
or a link to the video that you're gonna do
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of the package, so everybody should know that, again, it's four events
Yeah.
for Easter, and it's really intended to be cohesive.
Mhm.
So people can come to anything. We hope you come to everything, but it's because it's woven together that they should care more this year.
Yeah.
It's not just one event. It really is an experience for that week,
Yeah.
and we encourage you to do it. So I think this is a really good one to promo as a result of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we get that piece together, I think we should all be inviting people.
We should. So that then asks the question, do we have to give people anything to invite them?
I mean, I think there will be obviously like online stuff, but I think my plan is to have physical things that, like on a Sunday morning, we can take a handful and go out and
Okay.
invite people at work or
Mm-hmm.
at a coffee shop or even just invite each other.
Got it. No, I mean, I think it's an awesome outreach opportunity. So let's make it so. Good, love it. Any other thoughts or questions? That exceeded my expectations.
I would think, so tomorrow is the 3rd.
Mhm.
Probably by the 10th, at the very latest, the 17th, we need to have the
Everything.
marketing
Yeah.
kind of package
Could be
together and
done.
start really pushing on the 17th
Yeah.
through to really get the word out to start. I mean, if we have it by the 10th, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least start kind of dropping the word.
I agree.
Agreed.
And then, on this, I do feel like the freedom and the flow is good, but my personal opinion on those 3 talks though, I do feel like there needs to be some structure to those so that we know at least who's going to head up those
I'm good
3
with that.
specific items.
I'm absolutely good.
Especially if we are gonna do communion, I mean, we do need to know who's gonna be bringing that together and how that's part of it's gonna flow.
Yep.
I think
Landon's
that's
gonna handle
scripted.
the opener, but I think the last 2 are gonna be ones that, we probably are gonna definitely need to
Yeah.
think through those, but the rest of it, I think, just having it be a open night for people to worship, pray, move around the sanctuary, if they wanna come up to the
That's
front,
good.
come up to the front and,
Yep.
they had talked about bringing the cross out and putting it up on the stage or
Have
putting it
Logan
somewhere and,
up on the stage.
and we were like,
And a
that at
Jesus
the end,
costume.
we're gonna have Logan carry the cross down the center aisle and
Yeah, I wanna see that.
And a Jesus costume.
Is blood involved?
Set it up.
It will be.
It's sick.
So-
but
so-
yeah, so they wanna have the stage kinda set up a little bit differently
Sure.
and stuff like that too,
Awesome.
so.
I'm incredibly good. I mean, Mike traditionally does the communion.
I won't be there.
Okay.
I'll have to work Friday night.
Okay.
I mean, I can do the communion part.
I'll call your
We'll
boss.
just have to
Cool.
figure out exactly what we're doing and,
Yeah.
as long as Nick is there to
Nick
run,
won't be there.
ooh, okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to figure something out, cause if Nick's not there, I have to see if Jolie is available, but she might, with being a Friday, we'll have to see if it, cause I'll be upstairs running the
Yeah, I know.
the lyrics otherwise, so.
Yeah, you'd have to get somebody else.
Yeah, so we'll figure that out, but
Okay.
I'll be your number 2 if it's what it takes.
for communion,
Mhm.
okay. Alright, yeah, we might have to do that if I can't find somebody to do the stuff and then, so on the closing, the power of his name, if there's somebody else that could do that piece, it would be kinda nice to have somebody else up
Agreed.
there.
I think it'd be cool to have a
I
different
agree.
person at each of those 3, but it would have to be planned and,
Mhm.
cause I think it'd be cool to even like reference certain verses and stuff like that, or even like read a section, you know what I mean, so do want that to be planned out and play well into the songs that we picked for each
I'm thinking
section.
like semi-scripted.
Yeah.
Well, when I was saying somebody else, I was
Somebody
meaning
to
like somebody other
do
than
the section,
Pastor Steve doing it.
like you.
Oh,
To get
yeah,
new
yeah.
faces and
Yeah,
stuff up there.
I'm good with that. Those were just, I just threw up your guys' 3 names. So,
Yeah, he didn't hear it yet.
what?
Like you.
I
Yeah,
can play
Steve said
piano.
like you.
Like you.
I can't talk and play piano at
I'll
the
play
same
the
time.
We'll stop piano and just talk. Isn't that, I mean, the
I mean,
talk is
I
like,
could-
Camel, is
I
that
could do
something that, if you're gonna be there, you think you might be willing to do that last piece?
yeah, that's, yeah.
I could do a piece of it, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
No, I mean,
do
talk
he,
too.
he has a heart for it. I
Mhm.
hear it. So it's him.
Amen. All in favor?
Okay.
Motion passed.
Last one.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm learning how to play the piano on my iPad, so
Oh,
maybe I
gee
should
whiz.
get a chord.
There you go.
Just hit one key and you're good. Good, excellent. That'd be awesome.
Mhm.
All right.
Damn man.
Who's up?
So anything else there? We need to fill in any blanks now. I think it's good people have awareness of how big we're trying to make it. I think the excellence is there. So that's awesome. I'm excited. All right. Anything else about the Easter package, which includes a number of different things? So we talked about sunrise service. We talked about Palm Sunday briefly. We talked about Good Friday. Anything on actual Easter?
We talked about Easter, not Palm Sunday.
It was Easter, not Palm Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Well, can we back up to
Yeah.
transition time between sunrise and Easter service?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Are we gonna do anything in between, like have breakfast here at the church, or?
You're the ones that have the ideas, right?
Well, we've kicked around, a lot of it depends on what we're doing based on what time we start per se.
Got
I
it.
like the idea of
One of the things,
having breakfast that morning.
one of the things we kicked around, the idea was to start at like it's 6 o'clock, figuring about a 45-minute thing, come in, have breakfast for an hour here at the church, and then go into Sunday school class or go into some other little teaching thing to take care of that last hour before the actual service gets started. Another idea is to start at 7 o'clock, have a little breakfast, and then we just run church service like normal.
Yep.
So we're kind of like floating around both ideas as to which way to run with it. So we didn't know what the church was gonna do for the downtime in between.
I think as far as
Go out and
the,
have breakfast somewhere, whether you wanna have it in here or, cause I assume people will stay with the service, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, depending on when you're done. So if
I figured-
sunrise
I
is
figured
at
about
7,
45 I figured
right?
about a 45-minute thing.
got it. So it'll go from like, what, 6:15 until 7, right? And then from 7 till, 7 to 9. I mean, the ideas I've heard include a breakfast, but I mean, it's, what do we think? I would love to allow people to stay. If they're gonna come that early, yeah, stay and have something to eat. That to me is pretty straightforward.
What we kinda kicked around was, we never talked about anything but the Old Testament in class.
Mm-hmm.
But if we started an hour early,
Yeah.
we'd start New Testament,
Great.
and then at 9 o'clock switch over to the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for those that are interested, they can stay, for those who are not, go do, hang out, whatever you wanna do.
Yeah.
I don't want a big lull in between where people then go home to.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what, not that I'm looking for a big crowd on Sunday morning, okay, I'm not looking for that at all, however, I think that having the tent there, being outside, the sunrise, it'll be more impactful than if we're inside looking at the
Agreed.
four walls.
Agree. And we'll have a heater if it's a
Talk
little
about the
cool.
logistics of the tent and all that, cause it'd be nice to keep it on the asphalt as opposed to in the grass, just cause it's rainy season,
Yep.
mud, things of that nature, plus you don't have to worry about tearing up the yard per se.
Yep.
It doesn't logistics that way, so that's kind of where we're at. I was looking for some feedback from this group, what you want to try to do, fill in the in-between time, how much time do you need to have, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff.
Got it. Yeah, I mean,
I could say we could probably
Sound about right?
we could probably do coffee a little earlier if you needed us to.
Yeah, about like 5 o'clock.
No, after.
say no.
After the
That's
sunrise.
called, that's why they made
You guys
drive-throughs.
can come.
If you had a little breakfast here, it would encourage people to stay.
I mean, I like the breakfast idea.
Have service and then they leave to go to breakfast, they may not come back.
Yeah, they won't. So yeah, so
that's an encouragement to stay.
So I'm big on the breakfast piece, or, you know, granted, I mean, it's a 6-hour window now if they stay for service, but I'm good.
That's long.
It is a long
Yeah,
time,
that's
so
long.
I just wanna just
Sit
be,
there.
you probably still will get people sort of coming in and out,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with, but I think the breakfast is a good idea. I would go 7:30, I'd say, I'd do breakfast from 7:30 to 9, and you guys can start the class anytime. You can start the class at 8.
You can have your breakfast in here.
But then everybody on the team potentially could come in, if you wanna come in a little early, you'd have breakfast that morning, right? So I'm good.
It's a good idea as
Yeah.
a team. eating
As a team,
breakfast.
we'd have breakfast and, you know, so we're here a little earlier than
My other
9.
question is,
Go.
do we wanna start sunrise that much earlier? Or do we wanna start it like an hour later, so there's not as
I
much
was-
roll in between?
I was
It's really
kind of
a good
thinking,
idea.
you know, closer to 7, seems like it'd be better just to
Mhm.
cut down on
That's
how
kinda
much
that
time
was
you
kinda
gotta
what
fill.
we're leaning towards, but, you know, you
You kind of miss the
kinda
sunrise a little bit.
Yeah, you do, right.
I mean, you
That's
could
the whole
start-
point.
You could start at 6:45. or
6:30,
something like that.
yeah.
You don't have to do it at 6 o'clock, do it like 6:30 to 7:15, and then 7:15 to 9, you can have breakfast, and then.
That's a
or
long
8,
time for
you can have
breakfast.
It is.
That's too long for breakfast.
well, that's kinda what we're talking about too.
Well,
We got a big gap in
7:15 to 8,
between.
and then at 8 start the class.
So we're just looking for some ideas for filling in that
And
gap.
maybe people that are here that don't normally come to class would just come to class that day.
But it only, I mean, we're only talking about moving it 30 minutes, so it's not like it's gonna have, you're not gonna change it that much. So it's either 6:30 or, you know,
What?
or closer to 7 or 6.
Maybe we should just
So I mean, I'd leave that to you. I think the gap
We'll see.
is gonna be from like 7:30 till 9, and I think breakfast in that window with people coming a little bit earlier. So we start at 7:30, maybe go to 8:30 for breakfast, and then people can wander off and do what they gotta do. Is that fair? What do you think, team? I think that works, and yeah, again, it's one of those things where people should be, we should be mobilized to invite as many people as we can. The other question that's gonna come up is there childcare or that early in the morning? So we'll figure that out. I mean, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
But we'll ask the question. Cause yeah, it's gonna limit some people to come in that early if you don't have anything for them. And kids ain't gonna last 6 hours. That's the other piece. So we just gotta keep that in mind.
Be nice nap time in between.
Where?
Someone in here, they'll have a nap time.
Well, we'd have to, Nancy would have to set up cots and we'd have to have little hammers to hit them on the
You know,
head.
like, you fall asleep.
Take each little kid and just knock them out.
Whoa.
And then feed them, knock them out, and then hopefully they'll wake up
Do
in
that
time.
And the other piece
What were you
is gonna be
saying?
who's handling the breakfast and
Yeah, that's a.
what's gonna be served and.
Well, let's
all
leave
that
that to
kind of
Glenn
stuff,
and
so.
Tara, yeah. As long as they say yes, we're good. Cause I don't think we can help him much on that.
Yeah.
But he hasn't.
I'm assuming it might have fallen off the table, so.
Is it a bolt?
Let's hope it hangs out,
Is
yeah.
it a bolt? Yeah, it fell out from one of the legs.
So let's hope this bad boy holds together.
Lean on it.
Is that right?
Like,
Yeah,
you
you
can
must
pick
be
it up.
looking at
I
it.
tried to put it back in and it fell back out.
Pick it up. I'll put it back.
Alright, so 6:30 is what we.
I think, yeah, I wouldn't want you to miss the sunrise. That's like the whole point, right?
Right.
And even if you break your, you know, you're sort of ministering in that, even if you recognize the sunrise and you still go another 15 minutes, that's probably fine. So just make sure you bracket it, you straddle it.
Yeah.
Good, awesome, I'm good. Any other questions, thoughts? I'm excited, let's roll with it,
It's gonna get early.
okay? All right, so that does topic number 1. How about embrace night next?
How do you feel about
Where do you wanna
Embrace Night?
start?
I think it needs more direction.
How do you feel about Embrace Night?
Do you want a completely honest answer?
Yeah.
Ready to take it behind the barn?
Yeah.
Or you gotta spank it?
I think it's gonna use a different word.
Oh,
Really?
shoot.
You wanna quit? You wanna stop?
Oh, take it behind.
Why?
That makes sense.
Just drill down, why?
It doesn't feel like it's being responded to very well.
Okay.
got a very small group of people that are actually shown for it, other than people that are like directly related to us or us ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like it's a hugely necessary thing either. It's just
Gotcha.
kind of something that's like, it's like a nice like commodity, and if it doesn't look like anybody's really enjoying it, it's like,
Why do it?
why put our energy? Why put energy into it? Why
Okay.
waste that time?
Are you guys getting anything out of it?
I mean,
No.
yeah, to be 100%,
really.
it feels like, I mean, I'll speak for myself, not necessarily.
Speak for yourself.
It feels like,
Feels like work.
not work, but it always feels like, I don't know, like the night of, it always feels like something's like missing. But maybe that's something like internally that we have.
What? Can you put your finger on it? What do you think's
Yeah.
missing? What's? Just asking.
I don't know.
Is it just a feeling? Is it teamwork? Is it a gelling? Is it the spirit? What's missing? I think it's an important question.
Is there some expectation that you have that you're not meeting?
I don't think
You
there's
feel
an
like it's not doing it?
I don't think there's an expectation, but maybe like,
Engagement. People don't feel like, I don't feel like anybody gets engaged with it. Everybody kind of shows up, and everybody kind of sits quietly,
Yeah.
and everybody just sits there, doesn't say a word, doesn't
Got
do
it.
anything. And there's like, you can feel in the room when that's like everybody's deeply engaged,
Yeah.
and you don't feel that. And it's like everybody's like sitting here like, all right, when's this thing gonna be done?
Yeah. Yeah. You
Staring
don't
at
want
the
that.
walls and like twiddling your thumbs, and it's like,
So that's kind of what I was getting at when I mentioned expectation. Is there an expectation set for the time, and it's
Right.
not being met, and so that's the discomfort. Because I
I guess
imagine
maybe-
that you guys putting this together, you guys are close, and in terms of fellowship and being with God, it would be off the charts if that's what your expectation is. And your expectation is not that there are a million people coming in off the street.
right.
That's a good question.
oh yeah, no.
That's actually a really good comment.
I mean, I personally find it to be more of a night for sort of core team sort of people, like people that are more closely tied with the church and know everybody pretty well around here, and it's a night to be able to kind of worship and pray in a group with those people.
Yeah.
But it's not. But that's what I'm saying, though. It's not happening.
Okay.
So
That's the issue, is that
Okay.
what that expectation is not being met.
do we have clarity on what would make it happen? I mean, is it structural? Is it just so loose that people don't know what to do, or is it so limiting that people can't do what they want to do? I mean,
Yeah.
can you give me some idea?
I think it's like a lack of like unity. Not,
Okay.
like, I mean, we're all like close, but like, I feel like as the night goes, it's pretty like loose.
Okay.
Like we all just kind of show up and.
How many people normally show up?
Say we average around 6 to 10 people.
Okay.
It's not even about the people. I don't think any of us like feel
Yeah, you're not. The number of people's not the issue.
It's the
I agree.
the atmosphere.
It's the
and, like,
feel of it.
Right.
It's like leading up to it, and then also like
Well, the
during it.
people that's not
Yeah.
part of your group, are they getting anything out of it?
Good question.
Steve and Tiffany.
I know Jess does. I know Cinia did.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
people got touched.
Anna and Jake
Jacob.
did.
Yeah.
People got touched.
So if anything, it's probably a lot of either just like me or like each other.
Yeah.
That aren't feeling.
So that to me is so the team doesn't feel like they're aligned around what we should be doing.
Well, like Caleb said, it's probably just a lack of direction.
Okay.
Each week we do something different.
I don't
Got
say it's because our head is too much in trying to run it so we don't think about being a part of it.
Okay.
Where we have
It's good.
people not sitting in the chairs but sitting over by the sound booth
Yeah.
and just
That-
like not engaging, just thinking about running it. And I know definitely
Okay.
and being as part of the worship for it, you're in at any time that you're like leading the worship, I feel like you get into it, but at the same extent you have to focus on what you're playing and everything like that. So I don't think it's ever, or at least not generally, easy to engage with it when you're running it. So
Great.
my thought has been like the last two have basically been a worship night, not a prayer night.
Okay.
And I think that with the Embrace Night, we need to get back to the root of what it was when we started it, and maybe not even do live worship at all. But then also, we talked about doing a worship night just instead.
Sure.
Maybe off the Good Friday one, if it goes well, start doing that once a month.
Yep.
But I don't think necessarily that means kill Embrace Night, but
Yeah.
I think it might mean change what it is.
Got it.
Like, I know we have on our forms that we have the new people fill out, there's a big section for prayer requests.
Yeah.
I don't know what's done with those, but I think Embrace Night would be a perfect time to take all those that we've gathered through the month and go through them
Just pray.
and pray
Yeah.
and you know, be together. And really what it was about is embracing and talking to people. So I think the atmosphere of the room that we're in might need to change a little bit,
Okay.
because it's really dark in there, and like you can't really get comfortable talking to somebody, or like as a group talking to people when it's so dark. I think there's just things we need to look at, and I think we were heading the direction of making it a worship night, which makes it basically the opposite of Embrace Night, where a worship night's such a personal, individual thing.
Yeah.
So
I think those are fair points. I think you're right about where it started. What felt good, at least from my perspective, was the interaction with other people and the prayer. I think people appreciated that. It was something that was always available. So if you need somebody to pray with you that's warm and authentic, you could always go there and get that. I also think it's cool that we sort of experiment and sort of move into worship, but then decide, let's go back to embracing people, right? And I think there's always a value for that, even though people may come sometimes and not others.
Yeah.
So I think you're hitting a critical piece, which is what's the purpose? And if Embrace's purpose was to get people to interact and pray together, that's good enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't kill it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. I agree with that. I think there's value, and there has been.
Yeah.
It's just aligning with the expectation. Now, let me encourage you, because one thing that we tend to forget on each event is that. We tend to forget where it is. No event can capture everything we need to do. And so when you try to pack too much into it, you get very little because you didn't focus it.
Yeah.
You didn't say, look, this is where people come for X, but Sundays where you come for Y, and you sort of connect them.
Yeah.
So maintaining focus and clarity around it is really important, and not trying to stuff too much in it because of this.
Yeah.
We're not going to convert people the first night. You're not going to get them all deep, over 2 nights. You really have to have someplace else for them to get the other pieces, as long as you focus on what this is about. Is
Yeah.
that fair?
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it was funny, I'm at the workout place, and a guy comes up to me and he says, somebody said to talk to you, and it's about activation of the gifts. And it's like, well, I'm teaching on that. But we ended up in that place again of everybody thinks that their one thing is the one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This is a continuum. It's let me move you a little bit forward with God. Just today, I just want to get you a little closer. I'm not trying to revolutionize your world in a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get you to move.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're moved together. And as long as there's somewhere else to go once I've identified that, it's okay. Somebody needs deeper prayer. Maybe it's just a matter of, hey, let's refer something to someone else. Or let's encourage them to come on Sunday. Whatever it is, make sure that whatever you do, you know what the connections are coming in and going out. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it's great for new people. Honestly, I think it is, but it needs to be interactive for the new people. They need to come and feel like, well, I met some new guys and I got to know who Dustin is, and I feel even warmer about the church, and I'm coming back on Sunday, but that added something to it. Is that fair?
That's where it gets where I think about the process is because I don't know how many, the interaction is nice, but there's a lot of people that hate being put in a circle and then
Agreed.
and then
Yeah.
like
We
being
stopped doing the circle thing
Yeah.
because of that, but then all of a sudden it started to feel lame without the circle.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are the alternatives to the circle?
It's like, what do we do?
I like
What's the alternative to the circle? Go ahead.
I've made this suggestion a couple times, it's been shot down, so I'll make it again, which is, actually, I'm pretty sure I got the suggestion from one of the people in here. Doesn't matter. Anyways, we break out into small groups, 2 or 3. It's intimate, we can still worship together and pray together, but you're going to be in a small group where you can share details with each other, get to know people, and they can still interact with each other.
Why did you feel shot down on that?
I'm gonna be straight up. I
Go.
don't know if I wasn't listening when you said this, but I've never heard that. I thought you were gonna say
I remember that being said. We had talked about it, and we said that we felt like the group was already sort of a small group, and that
Oh,
maybe
so
just
it
smaller
wasn't,
groups.
you didn't want a smaller group.
Yeah,
Um,
it almost feels like that would be almost more intimate.
I think,
More-
but I think he's onto something now.
More intimate? Is that what you said you wanted?
Well,
No, like we're talking about like the circle. People get uncomfortable in the circle because it's too intimate. Like it's like this weird. Like everybody's looking at it.
it is kind of weird.
And then when you break into smaller groups, now you've got 2 people that are just both eyes on you. And now it's like, I feel like that's even more leaning toward that direction.
I think he brought up a really good point around the lighting. And that is, it's only weird if it's dark. You know, if I would, isn't this pretty natural? I can see everybody, the lights are on. it's like-
Especially if you're new.
Yes, dark actually sets you in a weird kind of place. It's like, so why is it dark? And this does feel weird. So I think the lighting will have an impact on it. I love his eyes for that. And it will actually maybe stimulate something different. And the room, you might move a little. You may move to a different room that's a little bit more open to people just chatting. So I think that the answer is, don't get locked into one way to think about it. Wrestle through and say, let's try it with the smaller groups in a little bit different room. Maybe 3 people in the room once they get to know each other. But here's another thing. I would then say, how many are on the core team? How many people on the core team? 5 people. You know where I'm going. That means if you got 15 people in the room, besides you, you can facilitate that. Each one of you sits at the table with 3 people or 4 people. And then you know what you're trying to accomplish. You're just trying to get them to interact. Well, let me introduce myself. Let me tell you my story. And then you can walk around and say, so tell me your story. And now, the leaders would have to get more effective at doing that. But then now everybody's involved on the core team. And maybe you actually generate a little bit more intimacy with the people that are there. Does that make sense? And yeah, Nick and Logan, all you guys. I also loved your comment about, look, if I'm working on it, I can't be in it. Absolutely agree with that. And if the goal is to interact with people relationally, then what I'll do is help facilitate that interaction. That's my main role. We all come together, we set the tone for it. You know, you might still do a little worship real quick, but then it's like we came to pray and interact. That's what we came to do. And so I'll lead team 1. Team 1 is 3 people. You want to come with me, or you came with me last week. Let's get together. Let's just chat. Let's talk about some stuff. Or I have a scripture, so there's some freedom there. So I think it's workable.
Well, I think one of the things also that I'm hearing is they're not comfortable running it without a script. They need the structure. But I think that if you get rid of the structure per se, the group will be more intimate.
I tend to agree with that.
Because you have to rely on each other, and it makes you vulnerable when you mess up. Everybody kind of knows it, so you laugh about it, you move on, you go on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there got to be some kind of structure,
Yeah,
some
you
kind
have
of
to-
reason
Yeah.
why.
You don't have to,
But-
okay, there's the exact songs we're doing,
No.
No, yeah,
Go here, and sometimes I hear you guys talking about this stuff, and you plan it down to the details
Well,
without any flexibility in there.
I think they're looking for someone to add more leadership to it,
Yeah.
as opposed to structure.
Yeah, I would argue that we almost had like no structure when we first started doing it, and then we like started trying to get some sort of something put in place that made it a little bit more structured. So
Got it.
to try to push for people to interact a little more, because the first time with no structure at all, it was like it was the same
Yeah,
thing.
it just doesn't.
But adding the structure, it didn't seem like much has really changed, honestly. I think it's just a matter of the people that are showing up. It's a matter of, I mean, just where your heart is when you get there. It's like you get there and you're like, I'll watch people show up one time, and I've gotten lots of feedback from people that have told me that it's like, if this was my first interaction with the church, I don't know that I would have come back.
Yeah.
And,
Why?
Because of the weird, a little bit with the lighting, weird interactions with one another. People that are new don't like to have hands laid on them when they prayed for. Usually,
Got it. That's
a
uncomfortable.
lot of the things that we do as a church, when somebody new interacts with that for the first time, it's like,
Yeah.
like I don't know that I like any of that. And on Sundays, you don't get that right off the bat.
Right.
That's why I personally think the whole embrace night thing is more for people that are already close to the ties of the
Interesting.
church. So you're
Got
gonna have people a little bit, but outside of that, it's like nobody. God, where were they even going with that? I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the things that people wouldn't come back for. The reasons why, if they went there, they wouldn't.
No, there was something before that. I can't
Okay.
remember the saying before that.
You play the take back.
The laying in hands is easy. You just ask them, do you
Yeah.
guys want me to pray with you? Do you mind if I lay hands on you? So you just ask them if
Or you explain what
yeah,
it
or
is.
explain what it is. So
It's not necessarily just
Just
that. It's that the people that do show up, and this is what I was getting at. It's the people that are showing up. I'm seeing them show up less as they see it, like
Gotcha.
as they see that it's not working for them.
Got it.
And so it's like I'll see Stephen and Tiffany both show up regularly,
Right.
and you can kind of see it in their heart that it's like, we're going hell about what you guys are trying to do here, you know. And it's not this is really awesome and we get something out of it every single time. It's like, we're gonna support you guys because
Yeah.
we like what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
like
not bad.
okay, well, like, my heart is not like that caught up in like, oh, this is the thing that like the church needs right now.
Right.
I'm not on this point of like we gotta fight for this and keep it alive.
Got it. And that's important.
It's like this is the thing. It's like, if people are really enjoying it and getting a lot out of it, I would love to keep doing it. But if it doesn't look like anybody's getting anything out of it, it's like, we're just wasting our energy. Like, it's like when we keep, you know, garbage that's from years and years ago just because of the sentimental value. It's like, no, throw it out. Let's bring in the new stuff. It's like let's take the stuff that's not working, get rid of it, and bring in the thing that's working.
how do you know that people aren't getting anything out of it? Did people come to you and say, I'm not getting out of it, or is that what you feel?
I've had several people, typically people that are newer to the church and don't know us as well, tell me that they don't like it and that it's weird, and that they basically come because they're being supportive. But then I've also seen people that come that are like, oh yeah, I'd really like to make it. They show up, they come for one, and then I watch them go like, and then they leave, and like you don't see them at the
Do
next one.
you ask them
That's what I would say.
why?
Yeah, what's this saying?
They want to see different?
I know. I asked someone and they said like the thought of like us getting into a circle like really like freaked them out. Like they were like,
Yeah.
because they had come to last week or last month, and that was the first time we didn't do the circle, and we told her that like usually it's different. Like usually we get into a circle and like pray for each other, and she was like, oh, I wouldn't like that at all.
Mhm.
And it's like, well.
Yeah.
It's just like where do you go from there? Because you have some people that love that and feel comfortable, and I know we do, and that I think that fills like time and space and doing that. But then other people would just like hate that and would like
So
rather not
what
be
was the
there.
whole reason why I
Is it
started?
forced? Is it forced? Because
Good
I
question.
can kind of agree with being somebody new and being in a circle with somebody you don't know that well. And if you think about it, prayer is a very intimate thing.
Yeah, during church,
But
They'll get praised. I mean,
yeah, but these are people that you don't know that well.
True.
That you're forced to be intimate with in this setting,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I wonder if maybe you're not expecting too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, maybe there's not enough patience to let it kind of
Happen.
fall into what it's supposed to be.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? Maybe I like the circle thing. Maybe they feel it's too close. What if you still do the circle but make it bigger? Because I feel too close to him, but if I'm here, it's still a circle. I'm still happy
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have that many people, so it's not like a classroom. I wouldn't set up in a classroom style
Mhm.
that I'm seeing his back of his head
Right.
and you're up there talking,
Right.
and that's not, you know. So I still would do the circle, but maybe make the circle a little bit bigger and give me a little bit more space.
Mm-hmm.
What, if we're trying, I mean, would you agree that we're trying to connect with people?
Yes.
Okay.
So a comfort zone shouldn't be our first concern, in my opinion. I think if they want an individual worship night,
Then
that's something we should start
Right.
also, but I
Yeah.
think there should be an expectation on Embrace Night. Yeah, you're gonna be in a circle and, yeah, you should talk to people. You don't have to, we're not gonna make you talk, but yeah, we're gonna get in a circle and we're gonna pray.
Yeah, I think if that's the point of an Embrace Night, that's what needs to happen.
And it's
But
not for everybody,
if-
if it makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to come.
But if the entire church is like, we're not really feeling that, like we're not gonna respond well to that, then we say, all right, well then we'll do something different.
You can.
We'll do.
You absolutely
If you
can.
wanna, if you
What
wanna,
we need to change is we need to be engaged in it.
yeah.
And that's what his point, yeah.
We started it on Saturday nights and it was just us, and we said, let's open this up for more people to come.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it stopped being about us engaging and talking to each other, it was about us trying to make other people do it and lead them into it, instead of them just joining us in what we were already doing. We all disengaged, and then just expect other people to come in and just engage by themselves,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with us disengaged, like leading them.
Well, it's
I don't think that's the way to do it.
and there's nothing different or wrong about what you're going through, so let me start with that.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you try to build a church, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your way of thinking about it, you're trying to bring other people into it, they like it or don't like it, and it's important that you understand that. But it's also important you're convinced at some level that what you're doing is gonna bear fruit. What you're doing is gonna bear fruit.
Yeah.
And then you're inviting them into it, so you're going through Open Embrace Link, whether you know it or not. And you're just in the open phase where you're getting feedback from people as to whether what you're doing is helping them, which is good. But two things have to be true. One, you have to be convinced that what you're doing is helping, even you guys. I'm back to your point. What you're doing helping you guys?
Yeah, that's what I think the unity piece. I think
It's
that's
huge.
what I mean by unity is like, are we engaged in it
Uh-huh.
at all? Or
Yeah,
are we
one-
engaged with each other?
Yeah, if you're just standing on the outside trying to get other people to do stuff, yeah, that's not gonna, people are gonna figure that out pretty quick. But I would actually believe you have to believe in it in order to continue to do it. And if that's where you're like on different pages as a core group, you gotta get on the same page. You gotta decide, and unfortunately, this is, you gotta pray and say, God, is this what you want us to do? Are we all in alignment around that? Help us design what it should be, or what was giving life to us, and then invite people to it. But that unity and alignment is critical in order to move it, because I think that's where we've lost it. If you've lost the, hey, we're doing it, so we're not as engaged in it, and we're not getting much out of it, and then, oh, by the way, we're not all convinced that we should be doing it, yeah, you gotta go back a step. Is that fair? What were you gonna say?
And maybe once you decide the flow, so-called flow, in announcements, you let people know, hey, we got Grace Night, and this is what it looks like. So when I come there,
This is what you're gonna get.
yes,
I think
exactly.
that's fair.
Hey,
We semi
sit
do
in,
that.
we sit in a circle, we do this, whatever the case may be.
We semi do that, but I guess just because the flow changes so much, we don't.
But
we just say it's a more intimate time with each other.
yeah, but what does that mean?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Right.
No, fair point. This is normal, okay? It's anybody who started a small group, you know this is what you go through. At first, people are in, you know, they're excited about the possibility, but then they start to get into it and they don't like, you know, specific things. And then you talk to them more and they decide to stay or not. I mean, it's the normal part of sort of forming it. But again, what's critical is that you guys believe in it and believe that it's what God wants us to do, and you're on the same page about it, so that you can actually put the energy in together.
Yeah.
And yes, I thought you guys were getting fruit when you were doing it yourselves. That's where we've disconnected something, and I think your point on that is right.
I think a lot of what was lost was the fact that we stopped doing it ourselves.
That's probably right.
And there's definitely very little unity in the group.
Yeah, and so that's gonna sap your strength.
I think there's a difference though when they're doing it themselves versus when they open it up to other people. When they're doing it themselves, they're able to get intimate because there's a history of a relationship there.
Sure.
They know each other. They're able to go to that next level. To try to take that setting and then say, let's open this up to everybody, and then have an expectation that other people, they don't have that relationship. So
Agreed.
it's not gonna be the same thing. Those are two different things, just because there's no relationship there. And so I think that needs to be kind of looked at as far as, well, again, going back to what the expectation is and stuff like that. You guys together, when you get together and you have those prayer nights, it's gonna be more intimate, more deep, just because you know each other, you've been raised with each other, you're able to be open and honest with each other. You can just, you know, hey, you ticked me off this week and I need to talk to you about that. Whereas somebody new coming in, you're not gonna do that. That's not gonna happen. And so there is a level of trying to determine exactly, well, what does Embrace Night look like when we have a bunch of new people that we don't know?
Yeah,
It's not gonna get as intimate and it's not gonna get as deep.
good point.
And so you do have to kind of facilitate it, which then does, it's kind of like a catch-22. Then you guys, they can't engage the way they do when they're by themselves, because they
Very
do
true.
have to lead other people, which means that it becomes more of a structured prayer group thing. And so I think that's
Yeah,
part of what, and then I think also there's some different hearts too. We talk about the gifts and things like that.
Absolutely.
Caleb is more into the prayer, you know, Landon is more into the worship piece of it. And so I think you got a difference in gifts and where people's hearts are and the different expectations based on how they're viewing it from those gifts. And
great.
I think there's a lot of this stuff kind of coming in, and one person has one expectation of what the night should look like, the other person has a different expectation because they're looking at it from a different gift, and so it's just a matter of trying to, kind of what we're all been saying, figuring out what is this thing supposed to look like, and then how does everybody fit into it. And
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, just kind of throwing it out there, maybe it might even be a thing where if Landon's heart isn't into it, maybe he disengages from this and starts to
Right.
focus more on a prayer night, and
Right.
or focus more on a worship night. And whoever's heart is actually into the embrace piece, they stick to the embrace piece and structure it the way that should be. And you know, those guys,
I think that's
rather than
fair.
forcing everybody to be, no, you've got to be a part of this thing. So,
Yeah, no, it's a good suggestion. The other one is, if this requires your unity and alignment, then there's a prep for that. So in other words, you guys gotta do better prep together to prepare for that. And so, yeah, to your point, the expectation can't be everybody can be as intimate as you, but you're being intimate actually preps for the meeting itself. You do that separately, and then when you do the meeting, you're focused more on making sure everybody else is connecting in. And so then you're not requiring that meeting to give you everything. And it does come back to that. Again, lots of times as churches, we try to stuff too much into one event. And we don't think outside of it, saying, look, how about we meet ahead of time, we make sure we're aligned, we pray, we get our thing on. And then when we do the meeting, we're aligned about how we do it, and our focus now, and you'll see this because our focus of the church has shifted, our focus now is on other people connecting.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to pray in tongues on Sunday morning. There's not, and if people come to me and say, well, you know, it's not spiritual enough, well, there's a reason for that. It's because I'm trying to open it up for other people, so my expectation isn't as focused on what we used to do, it's more focused on what we need to do for people. And it's the same thing you guys potentially would have to do. Is that fair? The only other thing I would say is take it through open, embrace, and link. Take it through the process. If now, as you're opening it up for people, yeah, you gotta rein some things in order to make it something they can connect to. And you gotta talk more to them. You guys agree with that? And you might have to just start out a couple times, it's like, hey, we just thought about getting together and praying, but what do you think? What do you think? You know, give us your ideas. What do you think? Since you're a part of this thing, what would you like to get out of it? So that you get some alignment on that, and then you can move it forward. Other thoughts? So yeah, I think the actions are, I think the 5 of you get together and pray and say, hey, who really wants to be on this?
Yeah.
Who believes this is what we need to be doing and God wants us to do, right? And get back together around, so what does that need to look like and what's the next step with it? What do you think, guys? You think that helps? I think you have great observations. What I love about what you're doing, because you are being critical about it and saying, look, if this ain't working, let's stop doing it. But let's interrogate it. Let's figure out what's not working about it.
Yeah.
Because the other thing you don't want to do is throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to say, oh, this isn't God. Well, you don't know, right? Something started you down this track.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose that something. I don't care what it ends up looking like. I'm not hung up on Embrace Night. But I care that you follow the breadcrumbs, follow where God was leading.
Yeah.
And then let him say, no, I don't want you to stop, but I do want you to change it. And I want you to understand where I'm going to take it.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately up to us, like what we decide.
It is what you can come to unity over,
Yeah.
right? And yes, you're going to have to wrestle it out. If you need me to help, I'll help, because we can talk through it. Because I think there is an issue of balancing the gifts. There's no question about it. And saying, okay, I get it, you want this, but I think we should have this. And the question is ultimately, what do they need to get closer? That's the question. And you have to focus it on, how do I get them to move toward God a little bit? It's more about them at some point. Other thoughts? It's a good exercise. I was proud of you guys for even taking it on. So just so you know where my heart is, I don't look at you guys and say, well, that's a failure. No, it's still a work in progress. And it's helping us figure it out, because everybody, the body has to figure these things out. And it has to work together to say, okay, is this what we should be doing? What should we be doing? Why are we doing it? Am I supposed to be involved in it? And what do I need to move it forward? So that's good. All right, we done with that? We beat that to death? What are you guys gonna do?
Take it to the vet. Take it to the vet.
Shoot it?
Well,
Take it to the vet.
Yeah, take it to
I
the
get
vet.
that, yeah. Let's figure out what's wrong with it and try to get it fixed, right?
Yeah.
Good deal.
We
What?
we usually meet after and discuss the basic, how we thought it went and what we think we'll do next time to fix certain problems and whatnot. We'll just talk about what we want to do with it.
Well, it's usually us. I think we need everyone there. I think that's the other part.
What's everyone?
Like, all of us guys that are in it.
Yeah.
I think we all need to be there. Actually, like,
To
talk about
To talk,
the
absolutely
direction.
agree with that. I think that's right. Nickster.
you gotta point them out like that.
Ooh.
I mean,
I saw the bus coming. Yes, he hit you with it. Good morning, Nick.
I was just gonna step
How you doing? I get that. Good, so keep pressing, keep praying. God will show you. Good deal. All right, so what else we got? We got time for anything else, or what are the next teams? What's the 10 o'clock? That was worth it. That was worth it.
sorry, everyone.
Actually,
What are you apologizing for?
the EMI update, what date is that again? It was in March
March
24th.
Yeah, that date.
It's on the 15th.
Yes, and we are committing to the 3, so when we pay, we're committed to the 3, but the dates can float a little bit. So I'm not worried about that. So yes, my encouragement is when we get started on this thing, everybody, as many people can go through all 3 of the sessions as possible.
Dan, were you in the Sozo Kids meeting?
Good point.
Which one?
The most
The
recent
last one?
But
We
Nancy-
were just thinking, he's thinking, can the Sozo Kids team give us a little bit of an update of where it is? And if not, that's fine. And we know it's impromptu. Are there any team meetings at 10?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I can speak for Embrace now.
Okay.
Can't speak for the others.
I got you.
So, Sozo Kids, Gail, you were in the last one too. You,
Well, you
That was Nancy.
Nancy,
It was Nancy and Tara.
And was it,
Angie, I believe.
No, I don't think
yeah.
she
She
was
wasn't.
it?
No.
She wasn't.
Jerry was in the first
About
one.
three ladies in there.
No,
maybe,
it was-
maybe I missed that. Was it last week?
I think so.
Okay, that was the funeral, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably give a little bit of an update. The simple thing is they have come to the conclusion that, because that is so much of a, it's a leadership issue. Children's ministry needs pretty significant leadership at this point. So what we've been talking about, I don't think I have anything up here. Maybe it is in there. What we've been talking about is, so what's the next step to getting leadership there? And what we think we're praying about is whether Steve and Tiffany would at some level step in and start to help us part-time in the kids area. And so each of them, you know, Steve would take a piece of it, Tiffany would take a piece of it. They're pretty experienced and mature, so we think that they could help us sort of being the point people for leading portions of it.
What are they doing now?
They're just helping. I mean, Dan can speak to that. They're helping back there.
They teach in the jungle room on the second Sunday. They're very engaged in a lot of different areas. Grace night, the Bible study Sunday mornings, and they're passionate.
Yeah, so again, we know and come to the conclusion that we got plenty of ideas, but without point people, you can't get anything done. So that becomes a major thing. And so we said, well, we're certainly praying for new children's pastors, and that would be their focus, and we start putting some money toward that. But in the interim, we thought maybe Steve and Tiffany would be helpful to start to help us align some of those things. That's really the kicker. And then the volunteers, we think we have a pretty good group of volunteers. It's just, again, without leadership, you can't move anything. And you can't even have conversations about what should it be when it grows up. So that's why we're thinking of them. So we're praying about that, and we would have to sort of approach them and say, is that something that you're interested in? My conversations with them has been, yeah, they're interested in doing more. This would be not a huge jump forward. It would be part-time. If they would, they have a heart for those things. They've done it before. So it would actually be with a team around them, and that's where Sozo Kids team really was committed. They said, you know what, we're gonna support and be right around them, so whatever they need, we'll help them with. But, and we'd be their arms and legs in some instances, but that's what would make it not such a leap.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it is, I think. Thoughts? Make sense?
Just a general comment.
Go.
And I mentioned this to Nancy when she shared that with me. What was shared with me was asking them, but kind of leaning towards where Tiffany could kind of oversee the children's, and then asking Steve
Yes.
to oversee the youth.
Yes.
To me, that's too much.
Well, it wasn't, was it youth or was it?
She said youth. He would oversee the youth group, she would oversee the children's. And
Yeah.
so that's too much. You're gonna crush them if you
Yeah.
do that. I mean, certainly seeing if they would be interested in one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
probably kids, because I think that's what they've done before. I know Steve has a heart for the youth, but yeah, that's gonna be, to ask them to step into both spots is gonna,
So you would focus the two of them on one?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Good suggestion.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's fair.
That's kind of what I expressed to her too. Caleb, I think you had mentioned that you talk to them and they're, where they came from, they kinda got burned out, is it?
Yeah,
Um,
from my understanding, that's what they told me.
And Steve
So-
mentioned that to me too, that they had done children's ministry for years at their previous church and, yeah, kinda got burned out on it, I don't know if, he mentioned the same thing to me as well, yeah.
I hadn't had a conversation with that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, my history, I came from, being burned out in another ministry. And, you know, coming on board here and getting involved, you know, I've been more adamant about not becoming overly involved, so, because I want this to be an ongoing thing, not a, you know, I'm in it for 2 years and I'm done because it was too much. So, and that's God's heart around,
Yeah.
volunteering and being involved. So, I think maybe as leaders, we need to get, you know, our head around what is reasonable to ask of them and define that more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the best answer for that is them, to a great extent.
Yeah.
So as long as you guys agree with that, yeah, I'm good. I can hear that. I think if we could get them helping with lots of support in children's ministry, that's a big enough leap. I think they do want to get involved. That's the other piece. I don't think where they are is where they want to be.
Right.
They actually want to be involved in something deeper and more. So I'll just have a conversation with them and I'll give you guys feedback about the conversation. That's it. I'll talk to the two of them and say, hey, here's some places we have needs and, you know, we don't want to bury you. I've told them that like multiple times. So I'll reinforce it and then maybe offer up, hey, would you like to team up on the kids? Because we could certainly need that. Good? Does that make sense?
And from a youth group perspective, I mean, I would be completely open to, you know, if Steve wanted to kind of team with me and, you know, we kind of do stuff together as you know, one-off events and stuff like that for the youth. Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, you know, to ask him to kind of start to oversee the youth and then her to oversee the children's and
Especially
that's not be so much of a,
Okay.
yeah.
That's good feedback.
Well, you know, what I shared in there is we have people who are over areas who, you know, have you know, are wanting to step back a little bit, and I look at Nancy as kind of an elder over the preschool, and Tara kind of an elder over infants and toddlers, and you an elder over the youth. You've got so much experience and wisdom, what works, what doesn't work, that can be spoken into. So I'm almost thinking that, you know, your position, Nancy's position, Tara's position, is almost to more select the curriculum, maybe, and guide it,
Yeah,
and
kind of guide the next leaders.
and the leaders kind of
that's
walk
okay.
it out.
Yeah.
No, and they embrace that idea. So I probably didn't represent it right. That's their thinking. Their thinking is, look, we got elders that are supporting anybody that gets in those roles, right? And that's absolutely right. And youth included. Whenever we put somebody in that role, it's going to be, yeah, but John or Angie have been doing it for 50 years, so they're a great resource for you, and tap into them. Absolutely agree with that. So. Gallery, 50, maybe it was 60 years. But no, that's a good idea and it preps us for the role. So again, continue to pray for people to lead those two areas. And we definitely need it. We do believe we have to hire at some level in order to get it done. So as we look at budgets, that has to be part of it. Okay, good.
Steve-
Embrace.
Steve and Tiffany both work full-time
I know.
jobs, so that limits.
Yeah,
That's a
or
whole
something, you
nother
don't know,
monster.
yeah. Good, alright, embrace. Team update?
We have a team meeting tomorrow, right after church, if anybody wants to attend that. Team's going well and seems like people are excited, we just need to gel.
Okay.
That's it, so we have some pretty big ideas, and it seems like the people on the team, they have a heart for it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pushing back and forth on each other and getting ideas around things, so.
Okay.
I do believe fully that it is going to be a big year for Embraced Arms. I do believe that you're going to be seeing more small groups. You're going to see men's and women's groups. We're going to be presenting more activities for the church to do as well.
Good, okay. Any other team updates? We should be at the facility thing, we'll do that last, how about that? We'll do the facility thing last, we wanna make sure we plan for tomorrow, sorry, go.
I just wanna say about the jungle room, I've talked before about wanting to get lights set up in there, the same way we did a little bit in the youth room. So I don't know if there's any way we could like film a Sunday in the jungle room that I could watch it and get an idea of how we could do that. And I know there's already sound stuff set up and everything like that, but I think it might be cool for us on like a media perspective of things to look at
Upgrade.
things we could do. If we can like videotape one service and then watch it back and figure out different things that we could do to upgrade that, because I think especially for the kids in there, if we could get like cool light shows and stuff going, they would have a blast with that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Like during
Wow,
their
that's a good
worship
thought.
settings and stuff like that, and so.
And you see a lot of that in like churches is like their kids. So
Yeah,
it
it's
just
all-
almost look like identical to what is going on in the main sanctuary. Obviously it's scaled back because
Sure.
it's a
It's a
smaller room.
Yeah, what we can do with 8 lights in the sanctuary, we can do with 2
With
in the
two,
jungle room,
exactly.
so.
Even like media, like doing cool stuff on the TVs and
Yeah.
getting a better setup back there. I think that is just as important as it is in the sanctuary.
Well, we
I
talked-
agree with you.
We talked about that a few months ago, and so you and I can work on it. I kind of dropped the ball on it. I was technically put in charge of kind of overseeing the
Yes, you were.
media packages for each
For each room, yep.
So you and I can work on
You
that.
didn't have as much help.
You and I can work on that.
Yeah,
together.
I would definitely wanna to look at that, and because I think that for the kids, when I think about being in the youth group, like the services and stuff, never paid attention to it, but the games and the connections and the fellowship and the friends that you make in something like that, that's what it's all about,
I
is making friends, and you hear the services too, even if you don't always pay attention to them, even if you're just sitting back and goofing off with your friends, you pick it up after being there Sunday after Sunday. It's stuff that
That's a great perspective.
it becomes ingrained in you, it becomes a part of you because you're there for it. But if it wasn't for the friends and the games and
Yeah.
everything like that, we wouldn't be so excited to come, we wouldn't be so excited to invite all our friends from school and everything like that, so
Okay.
I think it's important to make it a fun experience, that
Yeah.
it's just a party, that like it's what kids look forward to every Sunday. They're so excited to come because it's a party where they get to run around and dance around and have a fun time like that,
So
so.
that's great point, great perspective.
So,
And to your point, it reminds us that, you know what, everything doesn't have to be this big, deep spiritual thing.
yeah,
The
especially
depth,
with the younger people.
it does, cause they're just like, well, I'm not there with you,
Yeah.
right? And so, but spirituality, and I'm just gonna reinforce it, a servant that's serving is serving in a spiritual way. A mercy gifted person that's hugging is hugging in a spiritual way. Don't define spirituality based on your gift, because it has a broader definition.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? And then we start to accept each other and say, no, Don hugging people is one of the most spiritual things I've seen around here, right? He's hugging people. That's very intimate, and people are letting him do it. So something's happening there. And
Yeah,
other people that pray, praise God, go pray.
yeah,
But that's not the sum total of spirituality.
yeah. And then I also wanna give an update for the sanctuary team just as far as feedback that
Mhm.
we've gotten from multiple people, and it's people with the same background,
Yeah.
which is close enough to our age, some of them kind of high school age,
Okay.
without kids.
Okay.
So this will be, obviously, Sozo Kids is, I'd say, first most important, but then besides that, update that we've gotten for the sanctuary team and from new people is
Mhm.
they've all basically pulled up and been like a little bit unsure if they're in the right place.
Right.
Yeah.
And then as soon as
That's
they come
right.
in, they're absolutely blown away
Yeah.
from the moment they walk in the doors at how beautiful the facility is.
Awesome.
The hallway, as soon as they walked into the sanctuary, they've said the worship is phenomenal, some of the best that they've had
Good.
from different places they visited. They've said the lighting, the sound is like top notch, and they're blown away at how good it is for how small of a church we are and from what they saw from the outside.
Awesome.
So that should really let us know that as far as the sanctuary team, we're like 80% there at least.
Good.
Or
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
yeah, so I think that should be not only encouraging but very should let us all know where our focus and direction should be at this point. Is
Absolutely.
visually we're there. I think like front door, obviously we have places we need to work on and stuff like that. And sanctuary, we have some like team quirks and like where our heart is in certain places, like
Okay.
things to work out and like training on specific elements. But besides that, it's like we're 80 to 90% there, and everything else is filling in that last 10% and
Awesome.
making it perfect. But I think the everything else to that 80% is more important than moving that 80% to the 100%
Yeah.
or to the 99%.
Yeah. Because that's a point of diminishing returns,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You'll get a little bit better, but you've made the big improvement
Yeah.
already.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've had Derek's had his friends said that.
Mm-hmm.
Lesmore and Sam both said that when they
Okay.
came in.
Okay.
Almost all their friends that they've invited have said that. So we're getting the exact same feedback from many multiple
Yeah.
people.
And
Awesome.
that's like the perspective we don't have, which is, I think, him and I were talking about how important that is to hear from people, because like
Yeah.
we're so in it that you don't really see it
Yeah.
and that big of a jump,
Yeah.
Right.
that big of a leap. Like it's progress and it's kind
Mhm.
of slow, so we're just in it.
Yeah.
So to like step back and like hear stuff like that is very exciting.
That's
I mean, we
awesome.
all know that the building looks abandoned,
It
but,
does.
but we don't know that the sanctuary is like
Right.
jumping from like 20% to like 80%.
That's awesome.
So
Because it's
Awesome.
easy as, you know, the person in charge of lights to look at them and be like, man, it would be great to have these little extra things, but not to see that we're pretty much
there.
there
Yeah.
with what we
That's
have. Like
awesome.
sound, like, man, it'd be cool if we had these extra speakers or something, but people are saying feedback we're getting from new people is it's phenomenal. It's some of the best that they've come in contact with for churches that they visited.
That's good.
Um,
Love it.
so yeah.
No, pats on the backs to the open team for just doing a phenomenal job too.
Yeah.
And knowing that we need that, right? All the rest of us that are trying to do other things. I was sharing with Logan, I'm thrilled. I don't have to worry about bulletins because I used to print them.
Right.
I don't have to worry about it. I can sit out front and just sort of hang with people and
Mhm.
greet them, and I'm absolutely thrilled at the progress we've made.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we have roles.
Absolutely.
His role isn't to be everything
bulletin.
else, but a leader and a pastor and somebody that encourages people. We shouldn't have to
Well,
pick up
one
our
of the things we
slack.
said, we want to be out more
Right.
front,
Yeah.
accessible.
Absolutely.
I think we're getting there. We still have some more room to do there,
But we're moving in that.
percentage, you said, closer to it.
Yeah.
No, that's a great encouragement, and it's an encouragement for the people that don't need it.
Yeah.
It's okay that I didn't need it to stay, right? I mean, a lot of people don't, but there's a lot of people that do.
Mhm.
And so I've noticed people noticing the new people that are coming and the younger people that are coming. And they're like, wow, that's interesting. And at some level, they're not sure why. You know? They're just like, hey, you know, there's a bunch of, how'd they get here?
Yeah.
And we're going to have to help them understand the dynamic of it, right? Number one, we're inviting them. Number two, when they come, they're actually seeing something that's cool.
Yeah.
Number three, we're connecting with them and we're having coffee with them. And number four, you know, those are our friends. They're people that, you know, we want to
invited.
connect with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is how we get there.
Yeah.
I
So
would- okay.
yeah, I was gonna say
Good.
what was I gonna say? I was gonna say So as far as these other teams go, that obviously we're not gonna disband the sanctuary team or anything, we still have work to do there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our piece of the pie of these three groups is
Mhm.
a smaller one, so if there's spots like lights in the jungle room or
Yeah.
little things like that, that these other teams can definitely look inward at the team that's focused on sanctuary and pull on us for certain things like that, because I think we have a lot less to do. I think we're established where these other teams are kind of building from the ground up,
Yeah,
where we're just
That's
basically
interesting.
there and making it better.
interesting.
You know what I mean?
So in other words, you said we have the bandwidth to help you guys do some other
Yeah,
stuff.
we can definitely look
Which is
outward
outstanding.
and,
That's a big deal, man.
mhm.
Because you know we've been struggling with, how do you keep open, plus Embrace, plus Link worked, and, and now they're moving into Embrace and we're getting more traction there, but I love that.
And we obviously have the day-to-day stuff to keep what's going on in the sanctuary running, so
Yeah.
we're all busy, like Logan, making these graphics and printing stuff out. Obviously, we're all busy with the things like that, or the worship team rehearsing week to week. But besides that, yeah, we can, as far as the growth thing goes, where
Mhm.
it's like taking it from the ground and deciding where to go from there, we definitely should be, are open to be pulled on for.
Okay.
Okay.
out in these
And I
other
think
areas.
when he's talking about the teams, it's not necessarily the Open Embrace Link,
It's the three initiative
objectives.
teams.
The facilities. So
Oh,
the
I
things,
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
the sanctuary look and feel.
Yeah.
The sanctuary look and feel, based on all the feedback,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot more that we need to be putting. We made our list, and the biggest thing at this point on that list is the electric.
Yeah.
But then that feeds into the facility side too, so that's a teamed piece that needs to happen for both sides. And I
Got
think what he's saying is, the team from the sanctuary look and feel can kind of help disperse into the other two, and those other two are probably higher priority at this point than if you're looking at, funds and where do we put the money, it's
Yeah, it's
probably
the
gonna be
other
more
places.
into one of the other two at this point versus the sanctuary look and feel.
Gotcha.
Yeah, biggest thing for the sanctuary is just new projector, but besides that, it's, electricity, which is from other pieces too than just the
Okay.
sanctuary.
Good, that's good to know. Excellent. Have we decided anything on the projector? Just curious.
I texted Andre and he said he was gonna give me, cause I asked him if what he originally gave us was the most updated version. He said he's gonna have to look, cause there might be a higher lumen
Mhm.
on the market right now that might fit our screen better.
Okay.
So he said he was just gonna give me that information.
And in the meantime, Landon and I did adjust the settings on it. We got it so that it didn't make certain people look like they're just glowing. But
Oh, yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
said, I
that's
think
very
maybe it was
dark.
you,
I think
It
we
was
did it.
made it a little bit too dark. I guess there were
The
certain colors that
new
didn't
Bible
pop.
study graphic, it's got like a black with sort of like a
Was it
teal
green? Yeah, it was a
teal
green.
writing on it.
Yeah.
on the screen.
Yeah, it
It just
didn't
showed
show
up, you
at
couldn't
all.
see any of the teal.
Yeah, it's green.
I remember seeing
So
that.
there might be, we might still be able to kind of tweak some settings
The
on it
projector
as
just
it goes
shows
by.
Yeah,
So,
just trash.
Yeah, it is. So
it certainly is still something that would be nice to have, but again, even with that, it's not like, that's not the end of the world.
No, I got you.
Probably go ahead and do this by
that
for
even colored them with, yeah.
a little while while we put maybe that money
It's
in
not
other
bad looking.
areas.
Really?
That's
So we
certainly-
can defer that a little bit?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
It's,
Certainly.
Okay, well, that's good, that's good feedback. That's gonna help us a lot. So it sounds like facility and building is really where most of the money's gonna go.
Yeah.
Cause even right now, Sozo Kids doesn't need a lot of money per se, we gotta find leadership and figure that out.
Besides like the construction
we
stuff
have-
that we wanna do.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of equipment that we would need to set that stuff up, we just be a matter of setting it up.
Mm-hmm,
It's kind of just
Okay.
sitting in back rooms,
okay, cool.
so.
Alright, any other team updates? That's good to hear, wow. I would not have expected it. So you wanna do planning for tomorrow? Sunday planning, anything particular?
well,
And we'll do
first
Sunday.
Sunday, so
communion.
we have communion.
Yeah, Mike's got communion.
Mr. Mick.
I know there was talk last Saturday about looking at the way we do communion and some
Yeah.
ideas around it.
Yeah, but he wasn't here for
I
that.
don't know if
And
we
he wasn't.
necessarily wanna.
Yeah, why don't you just give him the update as to what you're thinking, since he's sitting here. Who had it? I thought
Some
two
of
of you guys had it.
I think
Well, I know he's
it's-
gonna
Yeah.
grill me, so I really don't wanna be the one to say
Oh,
it.
you don't wanna bring it up?
But we were thinking.
I don't like it.
Exactly.
Thank you. We were waiting for
That's what
that.
I don't want. Okay, hear me out, Mike.
La, 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 right.
We were all pretty. I mean, we were all pretty
Well,
much
there's some notes up there.
in
if you wanna
agreement,
just read
right?
that. Yeah, I thought.
Talk.
I am. I gotta set the ground. You know? So it's not just a millennial kid being like
No, you're
annoying.
not millennial, you're
True, a
X.
Gen X
Yeah,
kid
don't forget
I do
that.
listen.
being annoying
I do
about it.
listen.
But we were thinking, remember last Easter how we had those and we kind of just stood up and we still did it as a family and you still went up and it was just as powerful. We were thinking that maybe that's how we.
I was the only one that couldn't open my thing up.
We can have an open one for you.
Yeah, that's true. Let's open one
Just
up.
give Mike one that's open.
Right. We were thinking maybe that's something we do moving forward just to freshen it up because it is starting to feel like that's just like the typical thing we do and the in-between spaces and the transitions are beginning to feel very quiet.
Transitions have been rough.
So rough. And so we're thinking,
It breaks up the flow and everything.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I agree with you on
Yeah.
that part of it. I have no problem with the individual thing.
mhm,
The only thing that I like for us to think about though is I don't wanna miss that circle family atmosphere
Absolutely.
that John Ray started here in the church.
Yep.
With that. I think that was important, cause even if, when I do my thing, when we do it all, you look at people huddle together to actually have their communion bread and the wine at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Even though I'm doing it, they're doing it together
Absolutely.
too, so I don't wanna lose all that. And it may still happen out in the sanctuary too, I don't know.
mhm.
I don't have a problem changing things around.
I think we
Was
keep-
that the biggest change? Was just, we just. used
Yeah,
the
so
kids?
it's, well, and we would probably, I mean, if we all stand in our seats and we're all still together, I think
I
that
don't like
emulates.
I'm
the
not
seats.
trying to be,
Uh-oh, you didn't know that you get shot from that angle, right?
He's
Always
getting
gonna be
flagged.
somewhere.
Triangulating.
It's always
Right,
gonna be
well,
somewhere.
let me change that
Go.
to say what I do like.
Mhm.
I do like the volunteers coming up and serving. I do like people coming together in a circle,
Mhm.
moving out of their seats to come together.
Yeah.
So there's some thought and some discussion about not doing that anymore because why?
Because it feels like routine.
It's
and-
just we keep doing the same way all the time.
and I think there's a more comfortable approach and a more ideal approach, especially when it comes into transitioning and the flow of
Transitioning
service
what?
from piece to piece. So
Okay,
we
so
have
what's
announcements
What's the higher
offering.
priority, being together or transitioning?
Well, the thing is, just because we're getting a circle doesn't mean we're more together than we were if we were
Oh,
all in
I
the
beg to
sanctuary.
differ. I
mean,
beg to differ.
if
I'm,
our
I'm
hearts-
sorry.
Go
but,
for it now, just
you
speak your
know,
mind.
You know, for me, coming in, you know, the volunteer piece, people having, coming up and doing the elements and serving other people, that speaks, that's spiritual to me,
Mhm,
that somebody's serving somebody else. The other piece is being together
mhm.
is spiritual to me, instead of standing in your own box at your seat, doing your thing.
But that's the thing is we're still together, and I think we have so many pieces of serving and being together on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, and
That
so
we
why
cover
cut
that
out
ground.
one? Why cut out this one?
I don't think it's cutting it out at all, personally. But
Yeah,
That's
so
my
the way,
opinion.
the way I see it is that we would want to bring new people into the church, and if you walk to a church and you didn't know anybody yet, and you get up and everybody sits in like a big circle together, and you're like, I don't know any of these people, but I gotta like get in a circle with them.
Exactly. And
Well,
you
I
know
don't feel
what?
that that's,
You know what? What's threatening about coming into a circle with other people in the sanctuary? You're not in their face.
well, you're not,
No, you're not.
but you,
What's
I mean-
threatening about that?
It gets people out of their comfort zones.
And it's not like you have to do it. You can take your cup and your cracker and go back to your chair.
but then you're the outlier.
The what?
But then you're
No,
the
you're
outlier.
not. There are people that do it that can't make it to the front or want to sit in their, I mean, it's not an outlier who make it comfortable for people who want to do that.
I kind of agree with Gail here. I think, I mean, if you're coming just visiting, you're generally with at least someone else you know, and you can stand by them in the circle, and it's like 5 minutes. Now transitions, I do agree that that's really awkward. I think we should do it
Yeah.
completely separate from announcements and offering.
Mhm.
I think we should do offering, have like a video that we do after offering, and then do communion.
That'd be cool.
So that it doesn't, because you shouldn't
That's
come
not
up to
ideal.
get the communion elements and be putting in your offering at the same time. That's just a
Yeah, it's
jumbled
just
mess.
too complicated.
Um,
Okay.
But I do agree that, one, the volunteers up there holding it, and then people coming to get the elements, I think that's a big, important thing. And then I think about where you stand. I don't think it's so uncomfortable to stand up in the front for like 5 minutes
I don't
for
think
it.
it's that big of a
And I don't
deal.
think comfort zones should be such a big concern at church. I don't think church is about being in your comfort zone. I think it's about breaking out of it.
It's a good challenge.
Well, the
So I
other
don't think
piece
we
that
force people to, which we don't,
Right.
Right. So the thing, the point I want to get across is that we should have a hierarchy of importance. And I think our hierarchy of importance is coming together.
Hmm.
I mean, that, you know what I mean? That's
Fair
another
point.
opportunity
But
to
I
do
think
it.
that is.
And I think we sacrifice something for doing that, and that is maybe a choppy or, not a smooth transition. But that's nothing to sacrifice.
The transition isn't what I'm
Yeah,
concerned about.
it's not.
I don't care about that. My concern would be if I was a new, like, and that's my concern with everything. It's like a part of being together is having new people feel comfortable getting together.
And you know what?
And
There's a lady in church that sits in my section, and her name, I forget, I think it starts with an R, I don't wanna say it. But she comes by herself all the time. And I think about people like that, and thinking about us coming together as a family, and how inviting that must be to have somebody invite a new person into this group that already knows each other, rather than standing in your own little box doing communion.
And have them not even recognize you.
Exactly.
Not even know that you're there.
Exactly.
It's a
So,
fair challenge.
so I just think that the focus and the energy ought to be around, how do we engage new people so they feel more at home, and not, like somebody new and feeling uncomfortable and
Well,
with strangers.
I would push back on that. I mean,
Okay.
to say that it's more inviting to say, oh, we got this big ceremony that we're doing as a church. Do you want to come do the ceremony? Like where you would be the one that is kind of the outlier if you wouldn't join us in this, versus why don't we just go talk to her after service and get to know her that way.
It's opening an opportunity to talk to somebody, to come up to the front
I
and
think
do.
at that moment it is. I don't think it is in that
Can
moment.
be.
Well, so
Certainly.
That moment
maybe
it's sort of more of a quiet thing.
maybe the issue is not necessarily like coming and standing at the front, but maybe the moment is taking place at it. So when I just think of communion, I think of it as an act of worship. Like I'm coming and remembering what Jesus did to me. And I'm doing this as a form of I believe in what you do. I have seen what you do, and this is my way of remembering you. And I think a really good time to put that after where a transition will work really well is right after worship, because people are already opened up. They're already,
I did like
opening
the
the
day that
stuff.
we did that. It was a while back we did that right after worship. We just continued to play through it. I totally liked that. That was fun.
And people are already opened up. They're already intimate
I
anyways.
mean, that would make
True.
way more sense.
I like that.
Mhm.
And I think
I do
the other
too.
piece to your point, what I like about your saying is, people need to know the why. So to your point, yeah, if it's a ceremony, it's because we're not explaining why we do it.
There you go, that's it.
We're just like, well, it's a ritual, yeah, because
Right.
everybody knows what to do, and
Right.
come on up and
Right.
take your elements, and
Yeah.
it becomes a routine. Now, if
Right.
I actually expound on, here's why we do this, we want you to feel like you can be a part of this family.
Mhm.
You're free to not come up,
Mhm.
but we welcome you to join us. I mean, I think you can expound on it a little bit to open the door.
I don't
But-
mean ceremony in a negative sense. Like,
No,
like,
no, no.
like, as like, you know.
But it is a routine.
Right, it's a
I think it's
routine, we
implied.
all know.
It is a routine.
So, would you agree, Mike, that we probably need it's definitely if we got some new people, so just to expound upon what you normally say?
I
Do-
thought I did do that.
I think you do.
I mean, I tell them, come up, join us.
Yeah, I
have a
think-
seat,
I think
you're
Mike
welcome
does.
to.
I think he does.
We can bring it back to you if you want, if you don't want to take, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, do I need to expound more than that?
Well,
What you're
what I
saying?
like about what you're saying is keep it fresh so people so it's relevant. Don't just let it become this thing that we do.
That's the point of
And
this
that's what
whole
you're getting at,
conversation.
right.
Yeah, it's
So-
because it's
Yeah.
become
I-
a mundane, like,
I
Even-
personally,
even
I don't
Mike
care if
said.
we're standing in receipts or if we're in a circle, like that's
But
not
if
a
it
big deal for
feels-
me, I just don't want it to be stale.
right?
And
Got
this-
it.
And that's
So
the
you
whole
think
point of
just
the
standing at the
conversation.
Oh, we
seat will make
agree.
it more profound?
No, but I'm looking at it from a fresher perspective,
It's not really fresher, it's just changing where you're standing.
Different.
Which makes which
to
makes
freshen
the
it
routine
up
different.
would be something to renew the profoundness of the experience. And I don't think where you're standing does that. I think it would be maybe show it in a visual way that's different or something like that. That wouldn't, just standing somewhere different doesn't make it fresher.
That ties
Yeah.
into the whole atmosphere of it. I'm not just looking at standing; it's the whole.
But again, it's
Atmosphere.
all about the why we're doing it,
Yeah, I
which
agree.
the reason we come together and the reason we have people, volunteers, stand there and hold it is to do it as a family. That's the point of it.
That's the
So
key.
if we're out in the seats individually, then it's not being done as a family.
So,
But nobody's
but,
like.
but I hear his
Yeah,
point
like-
of, sometimes we get tactical around, but we wanna do this. Well, I don't think we've settled in on what it is we want to change. But we are saying we wanna keep it fresh. I think we agree there. Everybody okay with that? We're saying, no, let's make sure it doesn't get stale and routine and it alienates people because of that. So yes, we have to freshen it up and make it a little bit more alive than it has been.
And
And
it's-
then you can talk about what it is.
And it's obvious that we want to be together. Nobody is saying that we don't want to like be together as a church. If anything, that's what we've spent the entire past year
Absolutely.
saying every Saturday
We've been
meeting
saying that.
is what can we do to make this together. So that is nobody's approach on this conversation. We want to be together, but it's
I
how do we
understand that, but-
make it
But you
feel.
have to understand that
welcome.
just standing in your seat is not gonna make the
So
experience
he's-
more profound.
Yeah, he's pushing back on saying, look, if
That would
together's the
actually fix
theme, then that's not
The issue that we're all agreeing
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
So together, everybody agrees with, the
Yeah.
together theme and the family theme has to be the element. It has to be, that's the theme we're trying to
but it
communicate.
is. Yeah.
But again, to retain it, so everything that we do has to reinforce it is where he's coming from.
Okay.
And he's saying, look, if you're gonna stand in the seats, that doesn't reinforce it, it breaks it. So whatever we do and change, it still has to keep that together family idea.
Okay.
So what are the suggestions that say, let's freshen it, but let's keep it
It's not
together?
even, it's not even fresh in it. The idea came from this is like it just like Mike said, it's sloppy and like Gail said, I get it doesn't have to be perfect as long as we have that element, but if it's all over the place, I think it's harder for
Yeah.
certain people
I agree with
to
that.
feel that atmosphere just same
Because
thing
it's
as
too
worship.
crazy.
Just
Yeah.
same thing as worship. If worship is sloppy and all over the place, certain people are gonna notice that, and it's gonna
Mhm.
be harder for them to get into that
Agreed.
atmosphere. Not to say that you should be there for things to be perfect, but we're human beings and we're superficial at
At
heart.
some
Like,
level.
that's where
Yep.
that's just
So
what
the
happens.
question is, what's sloppy about it?
Yeah.
And
Just
my
the-
answer would be that we do offering and announcements at the same time.
Yeah, and that's kind of where
So
the
we
idea is
fix
coming
that,
from.
and then it's not sloppy anymore.
And that's
How
where
many
the
of you
idea is
agree
coming
that
from.
keeping it as a part of worship would go a long way toward,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I
okay,
agree.
so let's lock that one in, keep it a
Yeah.
part of worship. The other one is, and I heard you guys, using the packet sometimes instead of the individual elements, do we think that keeps it cleaner? Or not?
I don't
Depends on how you
necessarily
clean
think
it
it's
up.
that big of a deal. Yeah, I really don't think it's that big
Okay,
of
so
a
it's
deal.
not that, it's
Yeah.
not the packets per se, from most people's perspective.
Mm.
It's that we've jumbled too much into that part of the service.
And the reason that the whole circle thing came up is, again, for that, there's this awkward time that we just need to fill
Yeah,
of people walking up, putting in their offering, and then circling back around and getting their elements, and then getting into a circle.
yeah, that's
And
probably.
so we're looking at-
I don't think that's how that came up.
That's how I'm saying between him and I. When Lena and I were first talking about the
Yeah,
conversation.
let's not forget how it got started though. It got started because John Rates had the vision of all of us being together.
That's
as a
exactly
board,
what we brought up
okay?
together. But
Yeah, and
I'm
I think
saying
he wants to
him-
retain that. He's
him and I's
retaining that.
conversation, that's how it came up, was we have to figure out a way to make it smoother and run smoother so it feels better.
Well, I agree.
And the entire time we were saying, well, this is why we do the circle, is
Just like
because
last time we had communion, I said, you know, come on up, bring your offerings up, and then we'll grab our communion things, you know, and then it's like, when it was done, it's like, no one gave their offerings?
right. That's
Yeah,
my-
that was, so,
That's my point.
Yeah.
so that's the quick answer we have come to is let's not complicate it with offering.
Yeah, so.
So let's just lock
it needs to
into
be
that.
Cleaned up, yes, I agree with that.
And yeah, it wasn't,
So it's-
The
But my
point.
point is that cleans
Simply-
it. I don't think it's messy after that.
Moving it,
Mhm.
moving it to right after worship
that might solve the whole thing.
And last week we didn't come to a conclusion because Mike
Well,
wasn't
I
here.
would push back on doing it right after worship,
Why?
because I think you're gonna run into the same problem with the transitions back and forth.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, I would push it up towards maybe the middle of worship, get people out of their seats, have the communion, they're up, go into a song,
Yeah,
try to get some movement going on during the worship time, something along those frames.
I think that's more complicated myself.
I think we're
but I don't
definitely
know.
prepared to do that this Sunday, but I'd say this Sunday we do it after worship and we can look at that for next time we do communion.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to prepare a set
The,
that will work. with
putting it
fits
right
that.
after worship honestly doesn't, I think that honestly would actually solve the whole transition
Yeah.
piece,
I
because
think that's right.
rather than having Pastor Steve come up
Right.
when they do their last song, you could come up, they play into their last song, they just continue to play, then you come up
Yeah.
and lead everyone directly into communion. Maybe you even communicate to the helpers, hey, as soon as they're done playing their last song, come up with me, we're all gonna come up, you guys grab the stuff, get into position, and then I'm gonna lead everyone into communion. They're still playing, everybody comes up, we do communion, and then as communion ends, you basically close out praise and worship just the way he typically does, in some sort of a prayer or whatever. People head back to their seats, and as they're heading back to their seats, these guys close out in their music. And then once they close out in their music, rather than doing meet and greet on first Sundays, we just automatically have whoever's gonna be doing announcements that morning comes up, so people are coming to their seats, the announcer's coming up for announcements, these guys are closing out on their thing, and we're set, and we're right into announcements and
If you're
offering.
gonna do that, just do the meet and greet as you're going back to your seats. Give you time to get the table out of the way, clean up,
I mean,
all
you
that
can
kind
do,
of stuff. I
you
mean,
can do that too,
You don't necessarily
yeah.
cut it out per se, but I mean,
yeah, I mean.
because
you
you're
could do
closer that
as
way
well.
than going across the whole room to say hi to somebody to do your thing.
And people
Yeah, so
sort
you
of
can close
naturally
out
do that.
communion and then just
Yeah, the only thing I
instantly.
don't like about that is I hate finding people to come up and do it. I like being able to say, I need 6 volunteers.
And you always get
I
them.
mean, you always
And
get
you
them,
always
so I
get
mean,
'em.
it's not like that doesn't work.
Yeah,
But it's.
It would be harder in,
Way, you gotta get the 6 people ahead of time so you can go up there and transition into it to do your thing. And it's not like it's difficult, but it's just different, it's just different,
yeah.
which is fine.
And you might try it the first time, try it, just saying, hey, I need some volunteers in that period.
Well, that's the way we used to do it when John was doing it, then I picked up, that's what we were doing, trying to find the 6 people from the beginning.
Right.
And John used to always come to me and have me pick out teenagers every
Yeah.
Sunday. Which, yeah, it was kind of a pain, but
Yeah, it really was. But what I liked about what was happening, like Gail was saying with asking for the volunteers, people are coming forward that I wouldn't have thought of to ask.
Yes.
Right,
yes,
Right.
That they wanted to
They
be
just have a
part
heart
of
to
it,
do it.
yeah,
to do the thing.
Yeah.
And they're almost kind of fighting to get up there to do it. per
Yeah.
se. So I mean, that was one aspect that I really liked about the community.
well, you
However,
can, yeah,
we
you
can
can
still,
still.
we can still do that. We'll have to play with it some, figure out what to do.
I mean, I think, you know, coming up and just before you start talking, as soon as they finish that last song, you come up instead of Pastor Steve and just, you know, even at that point, if you do say, hey, can I get 6 volunteers, I mean, I don't think that takes away from it.
It does.
You can still kind of flow with that, because we're still in that worship mindset, they're still
Mhm.
continuing to play, and it's,
mhm.
that environment is still there, and so, I mean, yeah, I mean, asking for 6 volunteers,
The way,
I think that
the only pushback I would say to that, and it doesn't happen often, but I like to see it happen more often, is that sometimes we would get into a period of where Steve would wanna take it more into a healing or I'm feeling this anointing coming through that we need to do whatever, and I wouldn't wanna detract from that, so that'd just be you and I kinda
Yeah,
you know,
well,
eye
we have.
contact or something like that as to
Mhm.
whether we're good or not good, or you need some time.
Yeah, we can work on that.
You know, that's my only pushback on that, and then we
I
can get
agree.
into it. I wouldn't wanna take away from what you feel the Spirit's doing at that
Mhm.
time,
Got it.
cause there's been times that's been very impactful for the whole service.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay?
And we're sort of still in the open phase of, we don't do a lot of that right now, not because we can't or don't want to, it's just
But
we haven't
sometimes it's
found a
real
place
heavy
for
in
it.
there, and
Mhm.
you gotta run with it, I understand.
Well, I think usually you're kind of standing towards the back
Mhm.
by the sound booth during worship, so maybe just as that last song is playing, you know, just kind of
Yeah,
go
we
over,
just
you
have-
guys
we
touch
can-
base
We
with
just
each
have to
other.
look at
yeah.
our communication back and
Great.
forth, make sure we're good to go that way.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
not-
no, I'm good with that, that works for me. All right, so just for clarity, communion is at the end of worship, perfectly fine with that. You will transition to people going back to their chairs,
I
pretty
think he
much
was saying
end that.
Communion.
I
Yeah.
thought that he was saying that he would transition into a meet and greet since everybody's already there.
I'm
rather-
good.
Rather than, cause my suggestion was that we just wouldn't do
I'm
it,
just
but I
thinking,
think he
I'm
was
just thinking,
saying.
it's like, well, all
we'd
right,
still
now
go
while
to
you're
church.
up here, say hi to somebody, and as we move back to our chairs and
Mm-hmm.
go, from, you know,
And then we'll do
And so-
offering
so
after that.
whoever's doing the announcements, I can just say, and Caleb will come up and start with the announcements
Yeah,
here a
good.
little bit, or
good.
something around those.
I'm
lines,
good with that.
Kind of things, you know?
The other thing, and I thought you guys brought it up, and I thought it was a good point, and it's the offering and whether we bring it up to the front. Because there is, and I recognize that the more new people you get that are not used to doing that, and that feels like, you know, we're sort of displaying offering,
And-
that we might think of some alternatives there as well.
And at least, point out other places that
Yes.
they can.
Yes.
Like you can go up to the help desk after service, or you can go to the box on the side.
We can do kiosks or
And,
something.
yeah, some other way, like other than just the push pay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, I can specifically say there's 2 people that I've seen sneak their offering into the baskets while they're still on the stage when they don't think anybody's looking, and
Yeah.
I've caught them twice, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's like clearly you want to give, but you don't wanna be the person that's walking up and just has everyone see you do it.
A lot of people will come in the sanctuary till after offering, maybe you should push that back a little bit, so we have everybody in the sanctuary when we do offering.
Yeah,
A lot of people come in so late that offering's already picked up and
yeah,
missed it, so maybe they think, well, I'll do it next week, or,
We can always
Yeah.
end service with announcements and offering. It would flow really well because if you think about it, it would go into opening service, worship, communion, meet and greet, and then going straight into the teaching. And then you would break that teaching, which would allow you to, you know, go out to the front if you wanted to go to the door or whatever, and we could just do announcements and offerings at the end.
I mean, that's a possibility,
as
but
long as they don't leave before
I think it would be difficult.
offering. You've got to place it in the right position, cause if they're not in there when you do it, they miss it. If they leave early because they know it's coming at the end, then
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the freedom of offering, right? So,
yeah.
for the people that are more traditional, that bring it up to the front, bring it up to the front, but there's an alternative, which is either at the back or a kiosk or something else. I'm a big fan of just doing that. And then when we offer, you know, do offering, just remember, hey, you don't have to come up to the front if you want to. There's 3 other places you can give, you just do it according to your heart. And that gives the people the latitude to then go to the back or do something different.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that, and I think that's sensitive to people, and I know this culture now is not so focused on it being, letting it become a display. That it's like, this is between me and God, nobody needs to even be in the way when I'm doing it.
Okay, so you said in the back?
Yeah, you can have
So
a
then
box
we
in the
need,
back.
we need.
Yes, we do. We need a box in the back, and he's already picked some out that you could, you know, that offering
Okay,
stands.
and the
we can
box
give.
would be in the sanctuary?
Correct. I think it should be. It can also be in the information desk, and there could be a couple of kiosks around where you can do all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you're early or if you're late, you can just take care of it.
So then when do you pick up offering?
At the end of service.
So that changes?
Well, last week, yeah, we had said that we needed to talk to the ushers about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just bringing it
Just
up.
to see how we would handle that.
I think the ones on the stage you can.
Yeah, you can
still
go
take
get those.
off.
Actually, that's sort of clunky too. Because if you notice, there's times where I forget to let them come up, and then they stand there, and I'm watching them, and then it's like, oh, I remember they're standing there waiting to come up. So
I kind of think
there
they
might
should
be a
just,
cleaner way to do that.
I think they should just kind of know once offering is done,
To just come
to
get it.
just go get it. Like I don't think you need
Yeah.
to
Right.
necessarily tell them, okay, come
I
get
tend
the
to
offer.
agree with that.
Once you pray over offering, it's.
Right.
Well, yeah, but even there, I don't necessarily need to pray over it.
I
Right?
agree.
Yeah.
No, not if
Just
we
let it
pray
go.
over it before.
Yeah, just let it go.
And
And they should just come up and
we
get it.
usually have a offering video, just
Once the video
Yeah.
is just
people are done dropping their offering in the baskets before that video's even finished. And
Agreed.
just- As soon as
Just
the
go
video
get it.
ends, you're coming up, they just kind of walk up as
Yeah.
you're coming up too. And
Yeah. No, that frees me up, because don't look for a cue for me now. Just come get it. Fair?
Okay.
Yeah, just come get it. Find the right time, wait for the right moment, when people are done, and just
The
go
reason
get
why I
it.
ask is there's a lot of people that wait till it was with the basket, walk by, and they give us an offering for walking by.
Say that again?
A lot of times we'll pick up the baskets up front, and as we're
Uh-huh.
coming back and leave the sanctuary, people are like,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
So they didn't get enough time, is that what that is?
No, they
no, they're
waited.
just waiting for us to come by and get it.
Yeah. So they don't have to get
They're
up.
not bringing it up, they
Right.
prefer to hand it to you on the way out.
But
Right.
those may be the people
Good.
that would do it on the way out as they're leaving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Potentially, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
If
why
it
I was
gives
asking,
them-
when do we pick up the offering, cause if we do that and pick up all the offerings that time,
Mhm.
then do we leave money in the boxes for the rest of the week? Does someone come in,
No,
pick it up at a different time?
I think the end of service, everything gets cleared, so whoever took the offering at the altar, let's go put that away. But then at the end of service, make sure that those boxes are empty.
Yeah.
I
We'll
think
care
that's
about
what the
that.
ushers have to
We
do.
can't put it away right there, we can't lock up the safe.
They usually lock the safe once they
So
pick
we
the
just have to
baskets
know.
up.
Yeah, so we have to do it all at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has
Well,
to be
then,
locked.
then I'd wait to the end of service. But you still can get the baskets and put them somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
sanctuary,
Because you can't leave them in the front.
Right.
Right.
So just
Or-
find a secure place to put them until you get everything.
Or you could move it to the back,
You could put those in the safe and then
just not.
put
lock it.
whatever the extra is in the box.
And you have a box.
The locked box.
So,
Carol.
the Carol will come get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
That's a better
Because if
suggestion.
you have the key, it's easier to put them all in. If you try to
Mhm.
stick them in the hole, it makes it harder.
Right.
Okay. Alright, so, but if we add a box, we'll have to do that, yeah. We'll figure
Well,
it
that's why I was wondering if the boxes in the back would be like a lockbox like that one is. Carol could just pick up
Yeah,
both
then it
of them
would
if
be-
she's done.
She
That's
could,
true.
yeah, we can just buy one like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's offering and communion, we good there?
Is this the way we're doing it Sunday?
Good question.
Yeah.
I
What
think
we
we
do
should.
next
Yeah,
time?
why not?
Okay.
I'm good for it.
So the flow would be, we have countdown, then the welcome video, praise and worship. As they play their last song of praise and worship, you'll come up.
Yeah, give me some kind of cue.
I give Steve my little signature nod.
Yeah, I've figured out how to keep the beat on
Are we
them.
still doing?
Like, I can tell from a long way off
No
too.
way.
Yeah. It's pretty subtle, but
We're
I'm,
gonna,
I'm
the
used to
elements
it.
are gonna be done the way.
Listen, you gotta get your cowboy hat. Just go.
Okay.
Alright, tip the hat.
So praise and worship, they'll do their last song, and then you'll come up, you'll ask for your 6 volunteers, we'll go through
version of River.
communion. After communion is done, you'll release everybody into meet and greet. Everybody will be doing meet and greet, and then we'll end meet and greet the way we usually do, either with a video or something, and then Caleb, can you do announcements tomorrow?
Sure.
So then Caleb will come up, do announcements and offering, and then we'll have a video for offering as people are bringing their stuff up. As soon as that video ends, Pastor Steve will come up for the message, and the ushers will just come up and get those baskets.
It just moves. I like the efficiency of that, and I think people will react to how orderly that is. There isn't a lot of handoffs and crazy
And
stuff.
awkward. Okay, you can come get this stuff now. Like everyone just knows their.
Yeah, they should just know
That's
what the cue is, I agree with that.
So, what announcements do we have tomorrow?
Corporate prayer.
Do you put it in the app?
Take a pic, bro.
No, in the app. The services
Oh,
app that
yeah.
you had me download.
You could do corporate
Oops.
prayer. Well, it's just say.
No, I'm just, he said it was,
No, you don't be
corporate
lazy. You
prayer.
had me download an app for this.
I know.
Takes
You can
5
pay for it.
seconds. It's not, it's free.
Well, I know it's free.
It takes
And it's
5
work.
seconds.
His point was it's work.
Downloading an app is work for you, I'm concerned.
No, I'm saying you have me download the app for this purpose.
No, that's for the
And he
whole
didn't
service
use it.
flow.
So-
That was your
And I have
point.
not
No,
used
it's
it.
the whole service flow.
I'm
So
good.
getting on with what announcements we have.
Thank you. Right. Moving right along.
There's your announcements, bud.
So what are they? Do we have many?
Sounds like corporate prayer.
Embrace.
Grace.
Yes.
And that'll be the
Yeah, because we just had.
27th, right?
Yes.
The last March 27th.
It's early. It's early to talk about that, but anyway, just saying.
Yeah.
Since we
What
just
if-
had it,
What if we wait till after we've had a meeting about Embrace and decide what we're gonna do with it, and then we
it's probably a good idea.
That's fine.
What else do people care about and want
Is
to
there a
know?
Bible study, Gail?
You know what?
When was it?
Is there one?
Is there one
I got
that
something.
needs to be announced, or?
I'm looking at you,
Our Bible study at 9 on
Yikes.
Sundays? Yeah.
although you're gonna be.
No, the women's Bible
keys,
study.
right?
Oh, it's
Not during announcements.
During, here's a thought.
Exactly when you
We
met.
haven't done it. We haven't
No,
announced
we
it.
had a Thursday meeting just the other day, so it'll be in 2 weeks,
Here's a thought.
week after next.
Since we are asking people to give to facility and worship experience, I think it would be good to give them a little bit of an exhortation of how good, how much progress we've made. Like you did for us. It doesn't matter whether it's you or not, but I think that message is a good one, which is, hey guys, we've been working a lot, but we want you to be encouraged because people are giving us good feedback about what's different, what's changed, and how excellent it is. And oh, by the way, that connects to offering. We want you to continue to give to the 3 things and just go through and reinforce. Remember the 3 things we're chasing this year. Bravo, hats off, pats on the back. You guys have supported us and it's making a difference. Chew on that. I think that would be good because instead of just a routine, well, you know, yeah, instead of just a routine, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing that. No, give them some feedback and tell them we're doing good and here's where we made progress. And continue to give to these 3 things that we've been chasing after this year. We're still chasing after. Is that fair? That's a thought. It would be meatier as an announcement step. What do you think? He's nodding. He didn't say yes. Again, if you don't want to, I'm fine, but I would love to take what you gave us today and use it because it encouraged me. Okay, it encouraged me. Okay. Awesome. What else? Anything else for tomorrow?
Also, during announcements, probably just want to mention the Connect cards again. Probably should just kind of get in the habit of continuing to do that every Sunday, just to bring it up so we'll have the Connect card slide pop up.
Okay.
Cool.
So I'm doing announcement. Am I doing announcements or?
I'm good with the 2 of you doing it and just use him as sort of the foil of, yeah, but we got an update from the team around how much progress we've been making and people have noticed it. And then
Do that during
close it
offering.
out. Yeah,
Feel free.
that's my thought. You guys tweak it. And then we get to see him too, which is important to me.
I just wanna say something real quick, just about the interaction with all of us, like when we're up there. If there's a handoff, or if we're announcing or speaking about something together, that we're careful about how we present our interactions with each other. That it always stays high level, positive. I mean, cause we're all, all of these, we've all known each other so long, you know? And these guys have all grown up together, it's so easy to, like jab somebody in the side, or, I'm just saying, keep it, just remember where you are, that's all.
Yeah, because people don't know how to interpret some things that we say to each other.
Right.
And they think it's negative and we're just like, we talk about that. We
Right,
talk that
and
way all the
And
time.
it's not it's
And
not
they're not
negative.
used to it.
Yeah, it's not negative at all, it's it can be a love language of some sort,
Yeah.
but you just have to be careful because other people don't know
the
that.
relationship. Yeah. Cool.
So I'm not saying don't be yourself, please be yourself, please interact, just make sure it's all positive.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't be misinterpreted.
Because
that's all.
you never know. I was at a dealership one day and there was a coworker, in the stall area, so I snuck up on him, and we both had suits on, and I just grabbed him like this, right? The next day, I was talking to the service manager, and the service manager said he got a call from a customer, very upset, that he's never coming back to the dealership anymore because he saw two guys in suits fighting.
Oh.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
you never know what
you never know how people
Right.
they're gonna look at it. You never know. So when you're on stage, actually you are on stage, and whatever the jabs, the words, or the physical, whatever you do, people are watching it, and they're making a decision about you and about Sozo. And definitely if you're a new person here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Mm. Huh?
so that's it. I gotta go.
Sarah, she's still doing it? You tell her. All right, what else for tomorrow, anything? Let's hold this facility for next time, because you'll have probably more progress this week.
I do have one.
Go.
So Skinya and Revive, they are hosting a choir, and they're wondering if they can use the sanctuary space on March 29th, Friday, and they're willing to rent it out as well.
They did that, what, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm. They're expecting to have 100 to 150 people come.
It's on a Saturday.
No, it's on
Friday.
It's on a Friday.
Said Friday.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Is that the,
calendar? I
is
misread.
that the thing that happened the one time where there was like a
They had
bunch of
that
like
bus.
young adults and stuff?
And we had no idea that that's what it was.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. They were in every room, because they all had to change. Steve's like, oh yeah, they're gonna come and, next thing I knew, it was like, oh my gosh, it was like ants coming off and just like invading the space. It was cool though, it was very encouraging. So, is this something that they're inviting people to?
I believe so, because they're coming up from Florida.
Right.
Yeah, remember
But I
it's
mean,
that
there were
school.
like 100 people just on the bus alone.
Yeah. there's-
Yeah, they're expecting about 100 to 150. That's their average, but I believe people from their church are going to be coming
Like locally.
from both churches, yeah, and locally as well.
Okay, let me see.
Okay.
Did they have like media stuff or any of that kind of thing the last time they were here?
They did, but it wasn't a lot.
I don't remember.
I
We were
think lights, I
scrambling.
think they would need some lights, because they're up on stage doing a choral presentation, so there's probably that. I don't remember them needing any slides or anything, but they might ask for it if they knew, you know?
Is there
I
a
mean,
time, yeah, we have to find out all that stuff.
I haven't gotten that deep into the conversation with them as far as that goes. I just said I'll ask if you're approved to use the facility, or if they're even okay with that, and then we can talk details after that.
Got it.
I mean, I'd be willing to support it from a media side, so if
Okay.
they have slides and, if I can get at least one person to run the camera downstairs, then we can, do a live camera feed to the projector and all that kind of stuff, and then, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you
And
do
then-
sound?
Yeah, I'll do some.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll figure out what the charge for that is.
We can move in the next day. Yeah, we do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there is a couple.
We have a wedding things after that as well. It's so fun.
No, I, as of right now, have a professional
I mean, it's
development
open,
thing
so I'll
until
go ahead
then.
and pencil them in and then.
Okay. So should I say, do you want to have a meeting with them before we say yes, or
I mean, I don't think we need to. I think we got enough buy-in.
I would like to have,
Yeah,
at
you
least
need
talk
more
to them
details.
from the media side to see what all they would need or want, so.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying meet with them, yes, but not before we say yes. Or you think we should meet before we say yes?
It's probably, I do, I would.
All right.
I'd get all the details before I said yes,
okay.
me
So-
personally, but,
I'll just tell them that the date is open, but we want more details.
okay. There is one thing I had, and it was, what was the name of the conference in Dayton?
Global Awakening.
And so there is an opportunity for us, if we're interested, to go to the conference together. There's really two opportunities. One of them's for the guys, but so I won't bring that one up. But this one, just to talk about
Is it the entire
What it is.
weekend or?
It's from Wednesday to Saturday.
Oh, where was it?
That's a long time.
It's a
We'll be
lot.
glued up there, we'll be.
No, and so for clarity, I don't think you necessarily have to go to the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's only an hour away or so.
Yeah, it's pretty close, but in my mind, what I saw was, are there segments in it that people might wanna go to? And I think there's an opportunity for us now. A lot of people know Bill Johnson because he's big in the activation and gifts and spiritual, prophetic and things like that. So he's very big into helping people understand what it is and walking in spiritual gifts. So if we felt like we wanted to, and he's well respected in that area, so it's not like he's a one-off. If we felt like, we as a group or as, 2 or 3 of us wanted to go up there, it'd be good to experience it together. Now, again, I consider that, and the other reason why I threw this on the board is whenever you view these conferences, view them in the context of what you're gonna get out of it and how you're gonna use it. And if we think that we don't wanna get that out of it, or it's too premature for that conversation, then we can make that call, and then people can just do what they wanna do individually. But if we think there's some value to the spiritual activation and, the gifts of the Spirit and the prophetic, then we can engage it as a group. Thoughts?
If I could put some meat behind
Yeah.
it, from the perspective of the church, I believe that this would be a very important aspect for Embrace, just being able to, witness things to people who are coming into that, but also knowing how to engage spiritually in different avenues, I guess, especially for those small group leaders. As far as different aspects of the church, obviously Embrace Night, this is, whatever direction that we take, knowing how to pray for people, knowing how to enter into worship with people, knowing how to use gifts on that night, very important. Also, I think that the worship team would get a lot out of this as well. Just being able to know how to, I guess, co-labor is the best word, knowing how to partner in a different way with the Holy Spirit, And also it could be a soaking event. Like if it's been a while since you've been to a conference, and you just want to go and you want to soak, you want to be around other people, and you want to see what other churches are doing who have the same heart and passion for us, I believe this is a fantastic opportunity. Bill Johnson is very big and together in the church uniting. Randy Clark is the same thing about activating the spiritual gifts, and about seeing leaders being raised up. So those are the 2 big keynote speakers there.
Good. And so, it's very much a prophetic conference, so just truth be told. EMI is more of a teaching ministry, it's a discipleship ministry, just to contrast them. And so depending on what you're trying to get out of it, these things will have different contexts for people. So what do we think? Do we think we want to engage that as a group, either as smaller groups? Does the Embrace team feel like they want to engage it? Just give me some feedback.
Can you go back to the dates again?
Where was it? There isn't much on this page, actually.
I think it's the 27th to the 30th.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like I don't necessarily think I'd be able to commit to all of it.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they have mornings that they're like all day.
So
Yes.
it's like it's almost like a Zoe thing where it had like breakout sessions and all that. So you can pick and choose what sessions that you go to. Like I was talking to one of the sound guys from Revive, and he has been wanting to see Bill Johnson and Randy Clark for a long time. He said, I can't make the morning and afternoon sessions, but I'll definitely go to the night sessions. So
Yeah.
he's interested in that.
Well, and that's another good point, because even when we went to FCM conference, I mean, there was stuff all day, but, we tended to go to the evening thing for sure, and we mixed and matched what was happening during the day. So again, if there's interest and we can do it together at some level, not everybody, but a group of us might be interested in going and participating in it.
Look where it is.
Anybody?
It's a living word.
It's a living word, imagine that. That's like going backwards, isn't it?
How am I missing where are the dates?
Yeah, I don't see I see.
Oh, yeah,
dates
it's
already.
not
there.
there. No, I don't see it either. Scroll
Is it
to
at
the
the top?
top.
I think
I think it was at the very top.
there's not a lot of.
There, March 27th to.
27.
So that's the day of the revival.
There it is.
So I'll have to, I mean, some of us will have to miss out on some things on Friday.
I just don't know if we pay $100 to like not experience the full thing.
I don't know.
It's more of a
It's a good question.
Is it $100
Be right
for
back.
the entire thing?
There's a
per
stream-
person, yeah.
There's a streaming thing, but
There is.
we saw that.
That's literally just later this month.
Honey, oh, we left? Oh,
Short notice sort of.
got it.
I definitely want to go.
Since you were.
I would go to it even if nobody else went.
Yeah, so there's like, I work Thursday, yeah, and then I work Thursday.
And you guys are leaving on Saturday?
Yep.
Yeah, they're moving on the 30th for a while.
Why stuff always happens all on the same.
Please? Dude, just one. I need one.
Good catch.
I know.
That's why they call me catch. They never call me
The
that.
answer.
What's the
What's
question?
the answer?
What's the
That
question?
weekend seems stacked.
There's a,
Is the food good?
these guys are moving into their apartment on the 30th.
Okay,
And then,
so,
Revive is on the 29th.
so we think it's just not a good fit? Doesn't
It's a
feel
good fit for me,
So you have interest in going?
absolutely.
Okay, so there's gonna be a small, I'm good with just a few people going. And we're not trying to get everybody there. It's an opportunity. I love opportunities where we can share some perspective and experience. So those who can make it, just make me aware, and if you want some support going there, we'll help.
Okay.
So it sounds like there's probably maybe 3 or 4 of us that would be interested in doing it. Maybe it's more on the Embrace team than anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That was it. That was it.
Well, not from scratch.
All right, so anything else on the table for today? That's probably all we need. Unless anybody else has any thoughts.
Just again, remind / make everyone aware, we are live streaming these meetings. So if you go to YouTube and you search for Sozo Behind the Scenes, it'll bring up, it's a completely separate YouTube channel from our public Sozo local channel. You can watch all the meetings and stuff, so, you know, the ones that you haven't been able to make, you can go there. I mean, they're obviously long, because it's the entire thing, but we've been live streaming them just for that reason, so people that miss the
So don't-
meetings can still kind of hear what we talk about and stuff, so.
This is good.
So don't pick your nose if no one's looking.
Well, or
As a
don't
camera
talk
person.
about, it wasn't, you know what hit me? I was like, I probably said something about some people that,
Oh my God.
It's on video.
it's on video. I was like, wow, okay, I hope I said that in a diplomatic way. And I was reviewing my mind, I was like, yeah, I think I said that so that it would come off good.
I'm glad you
So
said
yeah, I
that.
did realize that. Huh? Yeah.
I'm glad you reminded us.
Isn't that funny?
Well,
But yeah, Sozo Behind the Scenes
Massive
is,
camera.
if you search for that on YouTube, it'll pop up. It'll come up with the exact same Sozo logo as our other one.
And
Got
it's a
it.
secret channel.
And hopefully nobody watches.
Yeah.
Right. That no one should watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't share it on
Your
Facebook.
I know, it's like, what? What did you say? So what's happening with everybody? Everything good? You guys are moving into our apartment, which is interesting. Do we think that's gonna be a positive
Yeah,
experience?
Sorry,
Which
sorry,
is
sorry
gay.
for sure.
Yeah, there we go.
What
What did you say?
Which is gay.
He wants to be with you guys.
yeah.
Who's Nathan Navarro?
Which is gay.
Maybe that's the
Who
other
knows who
church.
that is.
Who is that?
Why does it matter?
Well, cause it's on there.
got stacked
It
up.
just
the
showed
competition.
up. Anything you type in shows up.
Share, not where Caleb is.
And it's like anything, the first few, it took a little bit to work out the,
I know.
You're having a bad day, dude.
I'm just saying, old people are so funny.
Young people are so goofy.
You type in something on Google and you go, what is that? What's what you type?
Well, I mean, that wasn't the question, so I can interpret it for your millennial brain.
Oh,
So
actually,
that
I'm
you
Gen,
get it.
I'm Gen X.
No,
You're
I
wrong.
said it on purpose.
You're wrong.
He hasn't figured that out.
Wrong.
Yet. Whenever I call you a millennial, it's like, oh,
Wrong.
you're a millennial? You're a millennial?
Millennials?
Millennial?
Millennials.
can you actually, at the top there, can you click on the actual channel go to videos? I'm curious. That's 7 videos.
Please.
Yeah.
Just scroll it.
Biscuit.
Yeah, and you can see who.
Me too.
Biscuit me.
I mean, that's
Just
not
get me
bad.
in
You
there.
got 10 views on that one now. Look at that.
Nick.
Now, we don't know how far they went.
I'm open.
Who?
Yeah, I watched last Saturday. I'm open. Biscuit.
Cool.
But you can't figure it out.
Help us,
Biscuit me.
help us flag it if we say something
Biscuit me,
stupid.
bro.
Okay?
Yeah.
Don't do it, Nick.
People in the church see it, it's like, what? You said,
He needs
what
the
are you talking
label.
about? So that's cool.